The moment Suien was captured, Daoist Jinlian decided not to continue fighting. A streak of residual shadow escaped at once, but not far away. He witnessed this scene of Jinlian abandoning Suien. Gritting his teeth, he turned back to attempt a rescue. But before he could rush in, Daoist Jinlian shouted loudly, "Chu Yuanchen, take Heng Yuan and go." The scholar reacted quickly. Almost at the instant Jinlian spoke, he instinctively moved to support Heng Yuan, but Heng Yuan's body suddenly collapsed straight down. Then, the two of them quickly carried him out of the tomb. Meanwhile, on the high platform, the yellow-robed corpse, its blackened, purple mouth spewed sinister cold breath, not drawing on his energy but rather targeting his luck. The contemptible ant, it declared, "I will devour your flesh and blood, grind your bones, and condemn you to endless suffering. Your soul will be trapped in this tomb forever, endlessly tormented through countless lifetimes." The yellow-robed corpse's gaping mouth suddenly opened, biting down on Suien's neck. But the expected sound of cracking bones didn't come. Instead, a clang rang out, like metal striking steel. Unnoticed before, his chi had reinforced his skeletal structure, causing his neck to gleam with golden light. The chi flowed swiftly, covering Suien's entire body. A radiant, sun-like figure emerged, resembling a descending deity. Then, a voice not belonging to Suien resounded from his throat. "Dare you act so impudently before a humble monk?" The yellow-robed corpse swung a punch at Suien's face. Yet, it couldn't break through the spiritual defense. However, amidst the overwhelming burst of energy, it was enough to send Suien flying. The yellow-robed corpse then opened its maw, becoming a bottomless, insatiable vortex. The four corpses on the platform were drawn in, stumbling as they were pulled into the gaping maw. A crunching sound echoed. The yellow-robed corpse's form began to swell. Its blackened claws extended, and its shriveled flesh swelled to cover its surroundings. It transformed into a towering humanoid monstrosity. "A lowly ant dares to exhibit such prowess," it said. "So there was a warrior hidden inside you. It seems I've slept too long, for the world now holds bodies of such strength." The monk's spirit replied, "This is the power of the Buddha's teachings." The monster tilted its head, examining the spirit's aura. "Buddha's teachings? I've never heard of such a thing. I must have been entombed for too long. It's just as well. I hate the Buddha's teachings too." The moment the words left its mouth, the corpse darted forward. Although it caused little harm, the impact left Suien dizzy. The corpse's punches were so fast they left afterimages, striking Suien's golden body. Fragments of golden light sparked off his chest and forehead with each hit. Suien seized the corpse's arms, and a pained groan escaped his throat. "It hurts so much. Master, save me," he cried. Then, the voice of the monk emerged from his throat, saying, "This parrot is formidable." With that, it began its counterattack. The monk struck faster than the corpse, delivering a charged blow. The move completely disrupted the corpse's next actions. The corpse grunted as it flew back, its massive body almost smashing the platform. It struggled to rise and retaliate, but the monk pressed it back into the ground. At the same time, Suien shouted, "Master, tear off its head." As the monk held its head in place, about to make a move, a sudden surge of danger erupted from behind. Sensing the threat, the monk tilted its head slightly. A flash of light streaked by, striking straight at its mental defenses. The corpse caught the sword hilt midair, then swept horizontally toward the monk's chest. Luckily, it reacted quickly, dodging a few steps to the side. The corpse held a rusty sword in its hand. In a deep voice, the corpse said, "This is a magical artifact left behind by the master. It has absorbed countless years of energy within the tomb. It's perfect for breaking through steel-like protective techniques." As it spoke, faint wisps of greenish gloom emanated from the corpse's decayed core, merging into its body, restoring its cracked surface from the previous battle. Suien had surrendered full control of his body to the monk's spirit, but his consciousness remained clear. His mind instinctively analyzed the situation. This tomb is built on a geomantic treasure site, making it a naturally fortified formation. The corpse is in its element here, he thought. At that moment, the monk clasped his hands in prayer. A voice, imbued with great compassion and mercy, rang out, "Lay down your blade, repent, and be saved." There was an irresistible power in his words. The corpse's hand holding the sword began to tremble, its body gradually losing control. It roared furiously, mustering all its energy to resist the unutterable force. Meanwhile, the monk took advantage of its struggle, his hands moving in rapid succession. A metallic, radiant character formed above his golden body. More of these characters appeared, becoming increasingly brilliant. A blinding golden Buddhist light filled the burial chamber, illuminating it with a golden sheen, bearing down on the corpse. But in that critical moment, the corpse's eyes regained clarity. It broke free from the suppression, grabbed the bronze sword, and effortlessly shattered the monk's protective golden shell. The blade pierced Suien's body. Suien felt a chill in his heart, a wave of dizziness washing over him. He realized he might have been poisoned. The corpse pulled out the bronze sword and swung again. Suqian's body, as frail as a reed, was easily slashed open. He thought to himself, I'm done for. I've truly met my end today. The golden body technique I prided myself on is worthless against this bronze sword. The corpse gripped Suqian's neck and lifted him. Its deep, thunderous voice echoed. You are no match for me, the corpse declared. Why do you not flee? The monk calmly replied, since you have awakened, if you are not destroyed, all life nearby will suffer. The corpse growled, I don't wish to destroy this tomb. Return my master's fortune, and I will let you leave. The monk, controlling Suqian's body, gave a regretful shake of the head. That cannot be done. Feeling mocked by this tiny ant, the corpse flew into a rage. Then you shall die. It moved to crush the organs of its enemy, when suddenly there was a booming sound from within Suqian's body. The corpse's arm began to tremble, as the source was revealed to be Suqian's violently beating heart. When the heartbeat reached a critical point, a fiery mark emerged from his brow, igniting in dark flames. Suqian's form began to expand. In mere seconds, he transformed from a man into a humanoid creature. This monstrous form raised its darkened hand, gripping the corpse and lifting it. The monk's voice was calm. I would prefer not to unleash my undying body. It's far too draining. It requires constant consumption of life and flesh to sustain itself, and I despise killing. The sight of this transformation filled the corpse with terror. What are you? It roared. Or rather, what kind of monster are you? In response, the monk's hand closed. Bones cracked and shattered throughout the corpse's body. Defiant to the end, it whispered, Master, I can't wait any longer. At that moment, the monk released it. The corpse crawled several meters back, confused and afraid. Why not kill me? It asked. The monk didn't answer immediately. Instead, he forced a drop of his own blood from his fingertip. He traced a reversed character around the corpse, sealing away its strength. Finally, the monk spoke gently. Killing you would be no challenge. You're merely a husk. Now, tell me, who is your master? The group dashed out of the tomb. They navigated the eternal passage and re-entered the labyrinth. There were no pursuing soldiers behind them, which brought them a sense of relief. Yuan solemnly unwrapped Heng Yuan's bindings. At that moment, a burly monk landed a massive punch on Yuan's face. Without a word, the monk turned and prepared to head back. Taoist Jonle stopped him, saying, returning means death. Not to mention, we're already in the labyrinth. You can't find your way back. Heng Yuan clenched his fists, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. Why did you bring me out? He demanded. I owe him my life. I owe him my life. His voice gradually cracked with emotion. Taoist, you shouldn't have brought him along. When we joined the Heaven and Earth Society, we vowed to help. But this has nothing to do with Suqian. He's not one of us. You shouldn't have asked for his help. He's always like that, always putting others first in critical moments. But his kindness is not an obligation. Now we've found number 5, and every member of the Heaven and Earth Society is safe. But how can we face ourselves when we return? Taoist Jonle, I'm very disappointed in you. Very disappointed. Back in the capital, when he learned from the book fragment that Suqian had died in Yunzhou, Heng Yuan had been meditating with his prayer beads. The beads he had kept for over 10 years shattered in his hands. But that was a distant event in Yunzhou, and there was nothing he could do but grieve. This time was different. This time, he was directly involved. He had witnessed firsthand how everyone abandoned Suqian and fled. The overwhelming sorrow and anger filled his chest. Heng Yuan began to doubt himself, and he started to doubt his companions. Yuan looked on despairingly at their argument, feeling that the brotherhood they once held so dear had vanished. Now, he seemed more like a stray dog. Suqian remained alone in the tomb, images from that final moment replaying endlessly in his mind. Heng Yuan's expression suddenly twisted. He saved my life. I said I'd repay him. How can I live with myself? How can I face myself now? Taoist Jonle's face shifted. His Buddha nature is collapsing. With no time to lose, Jonle struck a pressure point in Heng Yuan's chest, smoothing out the inner turmoil and calming his spirit. Heng Yuan's gaze regained some clarity. He pushed Jonle's hand away roughly. Jonle said firmly, Heng Yuan, this isn't what you... Suqian is number 3. He was about to reveal that Su Ningyan was number 3, the holder of the Imperial book fragment, and a member of the Heaven and Earth Society, when the entire underground palace suddenly shook. Massive stones rained down from the dome. For some reason, the entire underground structure seemed on the verge of collapse. Jonle suddenly exclaimed, something's wrong with the palace. The formation is unraveling on its own. We can leave now. He handed Lina, who was on his back, to Heng Yuan. Help me carry her out. Jonle's misfortune made it unwise for her to be carried any further. As the palace crumbled around them, the group sprinted forward, and as expected, they didn't lose their way. In an environment of falling debris, they made it back to the chamber that connected to the thieves' tunnel. From there, Everything went smoothly, and they quickly escaped through the tunnel they had entered from. Shortly after, they were out of the underground palace. Just as Hung Yuan was about to let out a sigh of relief, he realized that their group was missing someone. Jonle had not followed them. Hung Yuan stood there, suddenly feeling a pang of sorrow. Once again, he had lost someone. Meanwhile, back in the tomb's main chamber, he heard the monk's words echoing. Suien was taken aback. A sudden realization emerged as details fell into place. From the murals, it was clear that the tomb belonged to a certain Taoist. Yet, emerging from the bronze coffin, was a yellow-robed corpse claiming to be a subordinate. Draped in yellow robes, how could a mere subordinate dare to wear such attire? It was suspicious. Moreover, the corpse bore scorch marks consistent with being struck by lightning. This meant this corpse was likely the Taoist's failed tribulation body. But what of the Taoist himself? Had he succeeded and ascended to a higher realm? Or had he taken another body? At that moment, the corpse twisted its grotesque face into an expression of disdain. You're trying to glean information about my master. The monk replied gently, as a fellow Taoist, you'd understand that our path relies on gradual refinement, and that we often draw, even if you remain silent. I can deduce that Taoist's origins. The corpse was quiet for a moment, not denying the claim. Given your intellect, it wouldn't be hard to discern. The monk nodded. Aren't you curious about your master's whereabouts? We can exchange information. This time, the corpse did not hesitate. It agreed readily. The monk asked, from which dynasty was he? The corpse answered, the Great Liang dynasty. The monk furrowed his brow and asked Suien, do you know of the Great Liang dynasty? Then, he answered himself, uttering Suien's voice, Master, I'm just a crude martial artist, not a Confucian scholar. I haven't even read the histories of the great song. A hoarse, low voice issued from the corpse's throat. Judging by your reactions, it seems I have slept far too long. The Great Liang dynasty was from the later years of the era of divine and demonic techniques, when the central planes were fractured among various states, and the residual wills of gods and demons still roamed the land. But that's all long past, not truly remarkable. Beyond humanity, the strength of the demon clans could not be underestimated. Yet, just as humans fragmented into warring factions, the demon clans were similarly centered around tribal groups. Though alliances existed among them, they were ultimately a loose coalition. Only when waging war against humanity would the demon clans unite. Inwardly, Suien murmured, after the gods and demons came humanity's struggle against the demons. How long did this history last? Why does it feel like the world's history is a mess, a jumbled chaos? There's so much of the past that can't be verified. What this world needs is a historian like Sima Qian. Suien forcefully wrested back control over the account and asked, how did the gods and demons fall? The corpse shook its head. I don't know. Suien pressed further. What level were the gods and demons? The corpse looked puzzled. Level? Suien quickly rephrased. What was their strength? The corpse shook its head again. Your question is too vague. I can't answer it. Every god and demon's power varied. It's impossible. The most powerful gods and demons were immortal, capable of destroying heaven and earth. Suien fell into deep thought, silent. Can I understand it as this? The strongest gods and demons possessed power beyond classification? At this point, the monk took over Suien's account. In the time you lived, how many individuals reached the pinnacle strength of gods and demons? The corpse answered. After the era of divine techniques, no one could reach the peak power of gods and demons. The only remaining true god at that time was the strongest monk, Shinshu. The monk furrowed his brow. What about the Tao sovereign? The corpse sounded bewildered. Tao sovereign? What Tao sovereign? Suien was left speechless, his mind blank. How could someone cultivating the Tao not know of the Tao sovereign? This is impossible. Suien asked in a low voice. You don't even know the founder of the Taoist sect? But then he reconsidered and said, I've never heard of a Taoist sect. It must have emerged after the Great Liang dynasty. This revelation left Suien reeling. Could it be that the Tao sovereign wasn't the sect's founder? Back then, there was just a vague system, with everyone following the same path. Eventually, a Tao sovereign-level master surpassed the system, reaching a godlike realm. Only after that did the sect form. The monk interjected, Tell me about yourself. The corpse replied, After my master failed his tribulation, his divine spirit withdrew into this body. He infused the remnants of his soul into it, and collected wandering spirits. After merging them, I was born. Later, he built this tomb, entrusting me with the jade seal that contained the Great Liang's fortune, instructing me to guard it well. One day, he promised he would return for it, but countless years have passed, and he has never come back. Until you entered the tomb, I noticed your fortune was identical to that of my master. I mistook you for him. Suien asked, Isn't fortune exclusive to emperors? The corpse replied, If I knew, I wouldn't have made the mistake. The monk interjected, Emperors have fortune, but that fortune doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the dynasty. Therefore, emperors can be replaced. But your case is different. You bear refined fortune. A unique fortune that belongs solely to you. Your master likely had the same, which is why he mistook you for him. Suien caught on to a crucial detail. My fortune is refined. The monk continued. Currently, the rightful dynasty of humanity is the Great Feng dynasty, which may be tens of thousands of years removed from your era. As for your master's whereabouts, I can tell you, the monk said. After the Great Liang dynasty, the peak divine figures included the ancient god, the shamanic god, the Buddha, the Tao sovereign, and the Confucian sage, 5 in total. Among them, the Confucian sage fell. The Tao sovereign vanished after splitting into the 3 pure ones. And the others? They ran into some problems. As for whether your master is among them, that's something you'll need to figure out on your own. Shin Shu continued speaking. If your master isn't among them, then either he has perished, or he's still biding his time. If he was among them, why hasn't he come back for you? Even I don't know the answer to that. The corpse asked, aren't you one of them? Shin Shu didn't answer. Instead, he said, I'll give you 2 options. I can end you right now, or you can stay in this tomb and continue waiting. But this time, you won't be able to sleep. You'll endure endless loneliness and isolation. Corpse hesitated. Neither path was desirable, but in the end, it clenched its teeth and said, I choose to wait. It's my mission, the purpose of my existence. Suien was somewhat surprised by this choice. It reminded him of a movie he'd seen, and he couldn't help but think, what a faithful Hachiko. Shan Shu waved his hand, sending the corpse back to its coffin. Then he said, within 10 years, he will return and restore your fortune. Suien, disgruntled, muttered, Baldy, what are you saying? I never agreed to this. The corpse didn't resist. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. As for the fortune, it didn't care whether it was returned or not. Shin Shu turned to Suien and said, I must return to sleep. Otherwise, I won't be able to suppress my Don't worry about me. The more fortune you absorb, the better it is for me. Just as he finished speaking, his expression darkened. Someone's coming. Outside the wooden door, a sneaky figure appeared, peering inside. It seemed to be looking for something. Suien suddenly jumped out from the side. What are you looking at? Jonle was so startled that she curled up, not daring to resist. Suien grinned and said, perfect timing. I'm hungry. Little girl, you're tender and soft. I like that. Jonle grew more and more frightened. Her leg was injured, so she couldn't run. She could only wave her arms to ward off the monster. Suien noticed her condition and suddenly lost the mood to tease. Concerned, he asked, what's wrong with your leg? Jonle, hearing the familiar voice, was overjoyed. You're alive. You didn't get taken over? Suien rolled his eyes. I'm protected by great fortune. I won't die so easily. What are you doing back here? Jonle, a bit aggrieved, replied, I came back to find you, but got hit by falling rocks and broke my leg. Suien felt both pity and exasperation. You fool. Even in this mess, you still worry about me? Hearing his scolding, Jonle blushed slightly. For some reason, she felt warm inside. Suien crouched down and said, come on, I'll carry you out. Jonle limped forward, about to climb onto his back, when suddenly, Suien stood up abruptly, his broad head knocking against her face. Suien looked at her with concern for a few seconds, thinking, wow, this is incredible. Is this the power of a fortune teller? Jonle, feeling wronged, asked, why did you suddenly stand up? Suien sighed. I was thinking, if I carried you on my back, more rocks might fall and crush your head. With that, he picked her up and said, so I decided to hold you instead. Jonle blushed, muttering to herself, I must be unlucky. Suien continued, the tomb's guardian has been dealt with. If I stayed behind, it's because I had a plan. I'm not reckless, but you don't even realize how unlucky you are. Next time, just run away. Don't end up dying before I do. Jonle softly said, I was worried about you. Suien retorted, worried about me? You're not my wife. What's it to you? Meanwhile outside, the treasure hunters, overwhelmed with relief, collapsed to the ground in exhaustion. They were basking in the joy of having survived the ordeal, but Hung Yuan wore no smile. His expression heavy, he gently placed Lena on the ground, and then murmured quietly, even a humble monk like me is inferior to a woman. Then, after a brief pause, he broke into anguished sobs. His grief was no less than if he'd lost a loved one. Hung Yuan's despair felt overwhelming. Chu Yuanjin opened his mouth, wanting to console him, but found himself speechless. He feared Hung Yuan would carry this sorrow forever, and that it would leave a lasting scar on his heart. For Hung Yuan, this would be a major flaw in his spiritual path. Even Taoist Jonle, usually composed, showed rare signs of dejection, a stark contrast to his typically aloof demeanor. This shouldn't have happened, he muttered. He was someone destined for greatness, not someone who should have fallen here. But he also knew, those with great destinies weren't truly immortal, especially at higher levels. Even someone with boundless fortune could perish. To lose someone like that here felt like a bad omen. It made him wonder, would he also meet his end soon? At that moment, the leader of the Earthly Alliance approached. Taoist, he said, please tell us our benefactor's name. Even though we're mere grave robbers, the lowest of the low, we still know how to repay kindness. Though he's passed away, we cannot repay him in this life, but we wish to honor his memory. From this day forward, all members of the Earthly Alliance will pay tribute to him every day. We will never forget. The Earthly Alliance members, wiping their tears, pleaded, please Taoist, tell us his name. Taoist Jonle sighed. Suien. His name was Suien. He was a silver gong of the capital's Night Watch Bureau. The Earthly Alliance members quietly committed the name to memory. At that moment, Taoist Jonle and Chu Yuanjin froze. They had caught the faint sound of footsteps. Someone was approaching from the passageway. The old Taoist said quickly, leave now, go as far as you can. A monster from the tomb is coming. Hung Yuan, however, was unafraid. Instead, he displayed a look of liberation. Ba, he murmured. This time, I won't leave. Chu Yuanjin muttered under his breath. I haven't even taken part in the struggle between heaven and man yet. But his hand moved behind him, grasping the sword that had never been drawn. Time trickled by, the footsteps from the tunnel growing heavier. Then, they saw a shiny, bald head emerge. Suien grinned. Hey, how's everyone doing? The three facing the tunnel were stunned. For a moment, silence blanketed the scene. Chu Yuanjin frowned. Could it be that the Taoist is actually him? Various thoughts raced through Taoist Jonle's mind. His spiritual energy felt heavier. His spell to conceal the heavenly mechanism had failed. How did he escape the corpse's grasp? Hung Yuan was the first to react, crying out, Sirsu. At that moment, he felt as though the world was radiant. Virtue had been rewarded. The Buddha's law was infinite. The brothers of the Earthly Alliance were overjoyed, rushing forward. Our benefactor is alive. Truly alive. The sun had fully set by then. After confirming that no more corpses were coming from the tomb, the group set up camp on the spot. Finally, they could rest. Suien spoke passionately. My staying behind wasn't arrogance. Jonle left me a trump card. What kind of card? I can't say. Chu Yuanjin's eyes narrowed slightly. As I suspected, Suningen is Jonle's crucial pawn. And now, it's clear just how vital that pawn is. But why did Suien stagger earlier? A side effect of the mysterious card? Taoist Jonle, both understanding and resigned, chuckled. No wonder the neutral lady of the Four Heavens sword followed him. Hung Yuan reflected inwardly. Too bad, I never had the chance to cultivate indestructibility. Reaching the third rank seems like an impossible dream. After finishing his tale, Suien turned his gaze to the Earthly Alliance. He focused on the wild sorcerer among them. What may I call you, sir? He asked. The elderly sorcerer waved his hand. No need for such formality. I am of the Gongyang family. My given name is Su. Suien pressed further. How did you come across this tomb? Gongyang Su shook his head. I wasn't the one who discovered it. My teacher was the one who found it. In our lineage of sorcerers, progressing further is nearly impossible. Most of us reach our peak at a certain level. As for why, the details of our system are not something I can share. Suien smirked inwardly. Isn't it just because you need to rely on the court? I've known that for ages. Gongyang Su continued. Though we couldn't advance, a person still needs to eat. There are only so many ways to make a living. Hehe. The most profitable line of work is making money off the dead. Since I was young, I traveled the land with my teacher, setting foot all over the empire. Whenever we came across a promising site, we'd record its location. Later, when we had the chance, we'd dig. If we found a tomb, we'd strike it rich. If not, we'd sell the location to others. This particular tomb was discovered by my teacher in his youth. He made a note of it back then. However, my teacher wasn't keen on tomb raiding. He said it went against the natural order, that sooner or later, we'd face retribution. Turns out, the old man was right. If not for your intervention, I might have ended up buried down there for good. Suien thought to himself, damn it, this old man's a sorcerer. I can't use the forgetting script on him. Who knows if he's telling the truth? And this shady geezer's already got me. Developing a mistrust of sorcerers. Shaking off these thoughts, Suien asked curiously, Senior Gongyang, who is the founder of your sorcerer lineage? Gongyang Su shook his head. I don't know. Suien covertly rolled his eyes. He thought, you're not even pretending to make something up anymore, are you? Your I'm lying face is way too obvious. Feigning confusion, he asked, isn't it the first witness? Gongyang Su smiled. The origin of sorcery is indeed the first witness. Hehe. If you must name my ancestor, it would indeed be him. Suien smirked coldly. Ah, trying to play mind games, are we? He kept a calm, relaxed demeanor and said, so it should be one of the sects that split off from the Four Heavens sword about 500 years ago? Gongyang Su's expression changed dramatically, his Adam's apple bobbing a few times. He quickly said, Young Master Su, please, no more questions. Suien thought to himself, my storage is wiped clean. How can I dig any further into this? But he smiled as he stood up, following Gongyang Su downstream along the trickling stream. They walked nearly 100 meters before Suien finally stopped. At this distance, he was sure their conversation wouldn't be overheard by Jonle or the others. Friends are friends, Su said. but I can't just share the secrets of the sorcery system for free, unless you pay. Gongyang Su stared at Suien, his expression solemn. He hesitated for a moment before asking, "What else do you know, young Master Su?" Suien's gaze was intense. "I also know that Emperor Wu's successful usurpation was because he formed an alliance with the Buddhist sects, who instructed him to kill the first witness." Gongyang Su's face turned pale with shock. "You even know that?" He wondered silently. Just who is this man? He has a seer by his side and managed to escape from that tomb full of malevolent sorcerers. Suien didn't beat around the bush. "Who I am isn't something you need to— I'm only asking you one thing. What role did Jianjing play in all this?" Gongyang Su's face grew somber. After a moment of internal struggle, he said quietly, "Isn't that obvious? Without the collusion of a high-ranking sorcerer, it wouldn't have been so easy for the Buddhists to eliminate a first-rank sorcerer." Suien sighed inwardly. "Just as I thought, Jianzhang did indeed act as a traitor. That's how he secured his current position. While I'm not overly scrupulous about morality, I can't stomach such betrayal. It's unacceptable." Outwardly calm, Su asked, "So all the sorcerers wandering the land today are from the factions that split after the first witness's death?" Gongyang Su answered, "Yes. Back then, 6 factions broke off from the Four-Heaven Sword. The leaders were the first witness's 6 disciples. My lineage's patriarch was his 4th disciple, a 4th-rank formation master." Suien asked nonchalantly, "Do you still keep in contact with the other 5 sorcerer factions? How are they doing now?" Gongyang Su shook his head. "Each went their own way. We have no contact anymore. Besides, what's the point of staying in touch? To form a secret alliance against the Four-Heaven Sword? Heh." Gongyang Su let out a bitter laugh. "The sorcery system requires reliance on a ruling dynasty. The higher the rank, the more true this becomes. That's exactly why our 6 factions ended up declining." Suien fell into thought. "So, in other words, independent sorcerers no longer have the capability to stand against the Four-Heaven Sword. But something doesn't add up. In Yunzhou, I encountered a high-ranking sorcerer. He wasn't part of the Four-Heaven Sword, and yet these 6 factions supposedly can't ascend to higher ranks. This logic doesn't hold." Suien calmly stated, "I once encountered a high-ranking sorcerer in Yunzhou, at least a diviner level one. He wasn't with the Four-Heaven Sword." Gongyang Su frowned deeply. "That's impossible. Could it be," Su suggested, "that he aligned himself with another power, just like how the Four-Heaven Sword allies with Defeng?" Gongyang Su thought for a moment. If that's the case, then it could be either the Buddhist sects or the Wuxian sect. As for the southern or northern tribes, you might not know this, but they can't gather fortunes. Suien silently remarked, "I do know. Ding Zhao already told me that." Then another thought occurred to him. That sorcerer helped me thwart the Wuxian sect scheme. Whether or not he had any ill intent toward me, he clearly wasn't aligned with the Wuxian sect, which leaves only the Buddhist sects. Su mused. "But I still don't have enough evidence to draw any firm conclusions. Overall, though, it's clear those bald monks aren't up to any good." With that, Suien continued, "One last question. I'd like to ask Senior Gongyang." Gongyang Su clasped his hands. "You saved my life. As long as I know the answer, I'll speak openly and honestly." Suien asked directly, "Do you know why Jianjing has blocked all information regarding the first Jianjing?" Gongyang Su chuckled lightly. As expected. After all, even emperors throughout history have tampered with historical records. Suien, puzzled, asked, "But the thing is, many people are aware of the first Jianjing's existence. Like you and me, for instance." Gongyang Su pondered for a moment, gazing at the rushing stream below. "Su Gongzi, what do you think blocking heavenly secrets means?" "It means erasing everything associated with someone," Suien replied. Gongyang Su continued, "And what exactly does it mean to erase everything associated with someone?" Without waiting for Su's answer, he bent down and drew a line in the dirt. "Look," he said, "I've drawn a mark here. If I cover it up, no one will know it was ever here. But if the mark I made is as large as this valley, or even deeper, imagine this valley right in the middle of the Defeng capital. How would you cover it then?" Suien suddenly understood. "I see. The first Jianzheng is that valley. Even if the heavenly secrets are blocked, his influence is so vast and apparent that it leaves traces that can't be entirely erased." "Exactly," Gongyang Su said with a smile. "Even spells that block heavenly secrets must follow the rules of the heavens. For example," he added, "if the people closest to you, say, your parents, were erased, wouldn't you still remember they existed? Did he spring out of a rock? Or could it be others also think young Master Su appeared out of a rock? If they're close to him, they'll have a vague impression in their mind, but can't recall the exact details." Suqian's wife suddenly realized. "So that's how it is. No wonder why my father always says he forgets. The first-generation treacherous official. People only recall him when reflecting on information from 4 days ago. Only then will they remember. There was a first-generation treacherous official." He hinted at something and said, "The senior really knows a lot." Gongyang Suwen chuckled without guilt. "It's not that I know a lot. It's just that my lineage only knows these things. Since we've gotten to this point, let me tell you more secrets about the sorcerer system. The first and second ranks of sorcerers are extremely mysterious. Even my ancestral teacher didn't know the names of these two ranks, or their corresponding methods. Suien slowly nodded. Thank you for the warning. With that, the conversation ended. Suien slowly approached Jonle to the west. He was washing his wounds. When the swelling in his leg subsided somewhat, he took out 2 prepared wooden sticks and tore off a piece of cloth to bandage himself. Suddenly, Suien shouted from behind him. Jonle was so startled that he shuddered, and the 2 wooden sticks slipped from his grasp, floating downstream. Suien stood with hands on hips, smugly watching Jonle. A bit annoyed, he muttered through clenched teeth, I won't come looking for you next time. Suien laughed twice. All right. What's so precious about some broken sticks? When we get back to the capital, I'll get you a silver cane. Suien pulled him to his feet and readied the unlucky warrior's sister. Only then did he shout, Taoist, let's head. With that, they rode the flying sword and paper crane on the wind, disappearing into the high sky. With their backs to the sunset, Suien held Jonle by the buttocks, soaring and singing. The righteous light shines upon the great behind. The members of the Ho-Tu gang raised their heads, watching the experts depart, shocked and shaken. In the western twilight, the members of the Ho-Tu gang arrived at Shangqing's gate. There was only a quarter hour left before the gate closed. The leader urged his gang members to hurry up, faster, quickly find an inn to rest at. If we're any later, we'll miss it. He noticed that Qianyu hadn't followed. Instead, he was standing still by the city gate's notice wall, staring blankly at the government notice on it. The leader yelled angrily, Qianyu, what the hell are you doing? Is there a woman on that wall? What's got you so rooted in place? He stomped over in a fury and scolded, if there's no woman on that wall, I'll paste your whole face on it. As he cursed, he looked at the notice. It read, March 18th, Shincho year. A Buddhist delegation will arrive at the capital to duel the 4 celestial swords. Dazzendon official Suien will represent, break the formation, defeat the golden body, change the Buddhist doctrine, and rectify the Buddhist sect. Yang Dafeng stammered, I remember that our benefactor's name is Suien. The leader's knees buckled. With a thud, he knelt to the ground, representing the 4 celestial swords. I was wrong. I thought he was just I never imagined he was such a big deal. Breaking the formation, defeating the golden body, changing Buddhist doctrine, truly a god among men. Suien carried Jonle on his back, overlooking the capital from high above. This, the greatest city in the land, lay quietly subdued in darkness. On the ramparts, bonfires were set up every 20 paces, for illumination, adding the candles within the royal city and inner city. It was rather resplendent. Jonle, lying on his back. Suien joked, don't the 8 trigrams platform of the 4 celestial swords show such a night view? Jonle replied wistfully, not this beautiful. Besides, at night our teacher observes the stars. At that time, we're generally not allowed to go up to the 8 trigrams platform, except for Kaiwei. Suien was a bit surprised. Why is Kaiwei allowed? Jonle guessed. Maybe because she's the youngest and silliest, so the teacher dotes on her especially. Suien inwardly chuckled. You're speaking ill of Kaiwei. I didn't expect you to be like this, Jonle, but given this unlucky martial sister's character, she was probably telling the truth. It seemed that Kaiwei's lack of wit was an acknowledged fact. At that moment, Suien murmured, I dreamed of a city where lamps lit up along the streets at night, winding through every corner of the city. I dreamed of a city filled with tall stargazing towers that glowed in various colors. I dreamed of a city where glowing carriages roamed the streets, making the whole city dazzling and brilliant. The candlelight never extinguished, lasting until dawn. Jonle was a bit dumbfounded by what he heard. That must be an immortal realm, he said. Suien did not respond, but smiled, a wistful and melancholic smile. The flying sword and paper crane did not descend immediately, but hovered briefly over the outer city. This was like knocking on the door, giving the sorcerers of the 4 celestial swords, or the expert guards of the capital a chance to react. It was a way to let them know the visitors were allies, not enemies. If they rashly landed without announcing, the capital's masters might respond on instinct. The flying sword and paper crane landed in a quiet alley not far from the city gate. Everyone cupped their hands and bid farewell. The unconscious Lena was taken away by Taoist Jonle, who would look after her. After all, Jonle was the leader of the Heaven and Earth Society. Suien carried Jonle back to the Su residence. Already late at night, Jonle washed up briefly, then used the wooden stick Suien had given him to set his bones. Suien apologized. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. You didn't have to go through this pain. Jonle lowered his head and said softly, I love him. If I borrow your fortune to avoid calamity, I must also give something in return. As you said, this is the principle of equivalent exchange in alchemy. Also, if you take me back tomorrow, my teacher at the 4 celestial swords will naturally heal my leg. Suien laughed. Sister Zhong, you're so understanding. It's really touching. Heh, Sister Zhong, are you tired? Jonle shook his head. With a loud smack, Suien slapped a blank notebook in front of him, revealing a capitalist grin. If you're not tired, help me with some copying. I'm worn out from carrying you back from Shangqing to the capital. Equivalent exchange, the unchanging principle of alchemy. Jonle was dumbfounded, but he wasn't good at refusing. Suien poured tea, while urging him, hurry up, I promised the princess I'd deliver her book. I've already kept her waiting for a day. Jonle weakly replied, okay. He limped to the desk and sat down. The next day, Suien dressed neatly, fastened his gong, and hung his sword. He accompanied Jonle back to her home. After seeing her enter the stargazing tower, Suien suddenly heard peaks rise to the heavens. I am the summit. Suien didn't even turn his head. He already knew which eccentric it was. Isn't it said that Brother Yang changed his catchphrase? Saying something like that beneath the stargazing tower. Have you considered Jianjing's feelings? Suien rolled his eyes. Brother Yang, what do you want with me? Yang, Qianhuan said slowly. It seems something went wrong with you last night. Do you need my help dealing with it? Suien felt a chill down his spine. What does he mean by that? Could he be referring to the aura I gained yesterday in the ancient tomb? Impossible. How could Yang Qianhuan detect the strange aura on me? Standing with his hands behind his back, he said, I'm just passing on a message from our teacher. Tell me what you think, and I'll relay it. Suien twitched the corner of his mouth. What I think is I'd like to give you a beating. As expected, maybe Jianjing noticed my anomaly while I was returning to the capital last night. It's undeniable. A first-ranked sorcerer who oversees everything from above wouldn't have taken this long to figure it out. Jianjing asking Brother Yang to pass me a message means that the cosmic concealment he placed on me has worn off. It must have happened after the fortune surge yesterday. But of course, I'm going to refuse. Dueluahan has already returned to the western regions. What reason do I have to endure the 404 technique now? Lately, every time I go to a brothel, it feels like my heart's bleeding. A life without freebies is meaningless. With that thought, Suien gave his answer, no thanks. Please thank Jianjing for me. Not long after, he got on a little mare and galloped away. On his way to the yamen, Suien suddenly saw a carriage ahead losing control. The horses pulling it seemed agitated, running wildly out of control. Without a second thought, Suien activated his aura, leapt into the air, and intercepted the horses before they could trample any bystanders. With a loud neigh, the horses fell to the ground. A young woman profusely expressed her gratitude. Thank you for your help, sir. Thank you for your help, sir. Suien smiled. It's good no one's hurt. The crowd that witnessed the scene burst into cheers and applause. Some even recognized him. That's Master Su, isn't it? Someone exclaimed. The hero of our Dafeng. Suien chuckled to himself. So I'm this popular now? This well-loved by the people of the capital? That felt pretty good. What's the saying again? Pretentiousness comes naturally, like a stroke of genius. Just as he was thinking this, he came across another case of child trafficking. Suien easily apprehended the traffickers, earning yet another round of praise from bystanders. Look, it's Master Su, who crushed the Buddhists. What a great man. But then things started to get strange. No matter where Suien went, something would happen. Minor events, but frequent. In short, wherever Suien went, he helped. And wherever he helped, he was showered with exaggerated praise. Suien naturally noticed that something was off. Why is it that everywhere I go, I end up looking good? That doesn't seem logical. The strange aura within me was supposed to awaken slowly with my cultivation. Gradual process. Its effects would be subtle at first, from barely noticeable to more pronounced over time. But now it seems that the fortune from the jade seal has surged unnaturally. Could it be that my fortune is out of control? Jonle was plagued by misfortune, constantly on guard against sudden accidents. But I'm tangled in fortune, constantly on guard against unexpected chances to show off. This isn't a good thing, and I'm not even sure if these incidents would have happened anyway, or if my presence caused them to occur. Were they set up just to make me look good? As he thought this, Suien let out a self-deprecating laugh. One day, I might write a book. I didn't mean to show off. He sped back to the 4 celestial swords. Before he could dismount, a long, drawn-out chant came from behind. One day, the rock rises with the wind, soaring up to 90,000 miles, holding the moon, plucking the stars. None on earth are like me. As the echoes lingered, a piece of purple jade flew to Suien. Yang Qianhuan said, Teacher asked me to give this to you. He said you might face some trouble. This jade pendant can help resolve it. Suien took the pendant and examined it. It was circular, about the size of Su Lingying's palm. Could this really suppress the aura binding me? He felt a twinge of doubt, but outwardly, he kept a calm and composed demeanor. Jianjing is truly a god among men. He knew I would return. Yang Qianhuan shook his head. No, he gave it to me earlier. Suchien's expression said it all. Then why didn't you give it to me earlier? Yang Qianhuan replied matter-of-factly. The most important thing must appear at the last moment, just like heroes always show up at a critical time. Suien cursed Yang Qianhuan's ancestors 100 times over. I can't take this anymore. Jianzheng, just kill this guy for me. In the inner palace's Daxin courtyard, Suien and Princess Huiqing sat across from each other. They each held a cup of hot tea, the rising steam brushing against their handsome faces. Suien said, I heard your highness is well read in history books, a scholar of unmatched talent. Huiqing straightened her back, coolly responding, unmatched talent? Suien smiled, that's not exactly the right term. Perhaps I should say, a scholar par excellence. Huiqing took a sip of tea. Only then did she softly ask, what's your question? Suien, feeling at ease talking to such a smart person, said directly, does your highness know about the Liang dynasty's exploration of the ancient tomb outside Xiang City? It's a secret mission by the Heaven and Earth Society. Having spent 25 years undercover in the Heaven and Earth Society, Suien would normally report this to his superior. But because of the Jade Seal, he planned to keep it a secret. That's why he sought answers from the princess. Without hesitation, Huiqing replied, there have been 3 dynasties named Liang. The earliest was over 3,000 years ago. The most recent was established after the Great Feng dynasty, when remnants of the previous regime formed a short-lived Liang under the support of the witch god religion. 18 years later, it was destroyed by the founding emperor of the Great Feng. Suien frowned. Only 3,000 years ago? Isn't there anything earlier? Huiqing put down her teacup, calmly shaking her head. This answer was expected, but it still left Suien a bit disappointed. It seemed that official histories, indeed, had no record of the era depicted in the mural. Before the Confucians appeared, humans did record history, but mostly in murals. Murals were hard to preserve. A single war could destroy them. The true tradition of compiling written histories began after the Confucians emerged. Scholars devoted their lives to meticulously recording history, turning it into a lifelong, noble pursuit. Huiqing reminded, Lord Su, do you have anything else? Suien, deep in thought, unconsciously shook his head. No, that's all. Huiqing's voice rose slightly. Really? Nothing else? Suien smacked his forehead. He quickly took out a booklet, saying, I forgot. I promised to bring your highness a picture book. Something came up at home yesterday, and I was delayed. I hope your highness wasn't waiting too long. Huiqing didn't even look at the book, simply responding, some disciples wanted to see it, that's all. I wasn't impatient. Suien, eager to meet someone in linen, hurriedly bid farewell and left. Although he was a bit impatient, he muttered under his breath, women are such a hassle. I barely have time to practice properly. Why keep so many around? Meanwhile, Huiqing stole a glance at Suqian's departing figure. Once she was certain he was gone, she eagerly picked up the booklet. Flipping through it quickly, she found it satisfying. Elsewhere at Lin Bao Pass, an orange tabby cat leapt gracefully into the scholar's chamber. A voice, weary with age, spoke, Junior sister, help me. My body is failing. Luo Yuheng's tone was indifferent. I think you rather like this current body. The orange cat, clearly annoyed, said, Junior sister, don't speak nonsense. As someone caught in worldly affairs, I can't afford to be so particular. Luo Yuheng, growing impatient, said, get to the point. What do you want? The orange cat flashed a human-like smile, and shamelessly asked, I was hoping to get 2 blood fetus pills from you. Luo Yuheng sighed. I'm just a rogue ruler, cultivating the Tao, a femme fatale, disrupting the court. All my pills are from senior brother Mingsheiming. If you're not afraid of being consumed by fire and facing death, go ahead. Golden Lotus Taoist cursed women under his breath, stingy and always bearing grudges. But aloud, he said, Junior sister, that's not fair. The distant Earth Tao has nothing to do with you. A morally corrupted person as the national teacher, that's the real threat to the court. You care deeply for the world's people. You then took up the blade of the court preceptor and personally watched over the remote realm. Otherwise, the court would have long since fallen into chaos. Luo Yuheng sighed deeply. If only everyone in the world could see as clearly and as wisely as you, senior brother. How wonderful that would be. Actually, you're right. Since I relied on the court's fate for cultivation, it's only fair that I endure the scorn of the world. The orange cat eagerly chimed in. About that blood fetus pill, Lady Court Preceptor, on Egg Island, 1 blood fetus pill is 38 taels of gold. But out of camaraderie, I'll waive the odd amount and give it to you for just 60 taels. Taoist Golden Lotus's feline face froze. If I had that much money, why would I come to you? Gritting his teeth, Taoist Golden Lotus proposed. What if I trade information for the pill? Luo Yuheng raised her red lips into a faint smile. Senior brother, while you have much information, I have no interest in it. The orange cat stared at her, a sly, almost human smile playing on its face. What if it's about Suien? Luo Yuheng's eyes instantly widened, the excitement on her face impossible to hide. But the very next moment, she regained her composure, adopting an indifferent expression. His affairs don't concern me, she said, her tone cold. She looked displeased and added, there's no need for you to provoke me with him. Whom I choose to dual cultivate with is my decision, and it's none of your concern. The orange cat smirked internally, casually lifting a paw to lick it twice. He thought to himself, it's as if he's unhappy about being forced into an arranged marriage. Taoist Golden Lotus spoke again. It seems, junior sister isn't entirely indifferent to Suien. At the very least, he doesn't disgust you. Besides, he added, I know you detest the Emperor Yuanjing. Luo Yuheng replied lightly. No woman would enjoy spending all her time with a man who constantly demands dual cultivation. The orange cat thought grimly. That's it for him then. Suien's the same. Outwardly, he remained as calm as an old cat, saying, whomever junior sister chooses to dual cultivate with, no one else can decide this for you. But the path of dual cultivation is no small matter. It can't be decided lightly. You should observe more carefully. I have some critical information regarding Suien. It may be of use to you. Luo Yuheng's demeanor noticeably softened. Senior brother, please tell me. Taoist Golden Lotus thought for a moment, and said, actually, this intelligence doesn't just concern Suien. It also involves secrets of the ancient human sect. Number 5 is a young girl from the ancient. You should know about her. Some time ago, she left the southern border to train in Great Foam. The night before last, I gathered number 3, number 4, and number 6 to look for her. After much searching, we found her in a large tomb beneath the southern mountains, outside Xiang City. The tomb's owner was a senior figure of the human sect. Based on the mural's information, he lived during the era when demigods were still active. To gain fate for cultivation, he killed the national leader, seized the throne, and declared himself emperor. Luo Yuheng frowned. Seized the throne and declared himself emperor? Was he also a second rank? The orange cat shook its head. I used to think so. But he failed his tribulation later. His physical body wasn't destroyed, so he built a large tomb underground. Luo Yuheng poured a glass of water as she spoke and placed it in front of the orange cat. That must have been built by later generations. The orange cat lowered its head, extending its pink tongue to lap at the water. With a sigh, it remarked, a cat's tongue is so different from a human's. The tea tastes so bland. What a waste. Then, it turned back to the topic at hand. Here's the problem. The Taoist's physical body wasn't destroyed after failing the tribulation. He remained asleep in the underground palace. When we entered the tomb, we woke him up. Luo Yuheng's expression turned serious. Impossible. Heavenly tribulations destroy everything. For a second-rank Taoist to fail the tribulation, both the soul and body would be completely obliterated. Nothing would remain. That's how it was for the previous generation's human sect Taoists. The orange cat said, I was surprised at first too, but the facts are as they stand. There's something he kept hidden from the Heaven and Earth Society. The Earth sect Taoist didn't fail his tribulation and become a devil. Instead, he tried an unconventional approach to overcome it, but ended up falling into the demonic path. If he had truly failed the tribulation, he would have turned to ashes long ago. The orange cat continued, my guess is that the dried corpse is only a remnant. The true Taoist abandoned it, crossed the bridge of magpies, and reshaped a new physical body. In the Taoist ranks, the third grade is called the Yang spirit. The Yang spirit is also known as the Dharma body. It's the precursor to the Dharma image. While the heaven, earth, and human sects follow different paths, the core concept is the same. They first cultivate the Yin spirit, then refine the golden core. When the Yin spirit and golden core merge, they give rise to the primordial spirit. The primordial spirit, once matured, becomes the Yang spirit. A fully developed Yang spirit is the Dharma image. Hence the Yang spirit is considered the early form of the Dharma image, also known as the Dharma body. When Taoists reach the third grade Yang spirit realm, they can begin to transcend the constraints of the physical body. The Yang spirit roams freely across heaven and earth. Even if the physical body is destroyed, they can pay a certain price to reconstruct their body. Of course, this doesn't mean the physical body isn't important. In fact, the physical body is crucial to becoming a first-grade earthly immortal. The Yang spirit must further transform into the Dharma image. At that point, the Dharma image and the physical body must merge again, then undergo a heavenly tribulation and complete the transformation. An earthly immortal is born. Luo Yuheng frowned deeply. If there's still a remnant body, then the Taoist wasn't a first-grade earthly immortal. In that case, how did he escape after failing the tribulation? The orange cat shook its head. This is just speculation. It seems junior sister doesn't know either. Luo Yuheng pursed her lips. If I knew, my father wouldn't have perished in the heavenly tribulation. The orange cat nodded. Makes sense. For now, let's put this matter aside. Let's move on to the next piece of information. After failing his tribulation, the Taoist constructed a grand tomb for himself and assigned a remnant body to guard a passed-down Imperial jade seal. It held all the contracts he had collected. The Taoist told the remnant, someday, I will return to claim the seal. When the remnant saw Suien, it mistook him for the Taoist and handed over the seal. Can you guess what happened next? Luo Yuheng's heart pounded wildly. Suien obtained the Imperial jade seal? That's incredible news. Senior brother, this information is priceless. If I can trade with Suien to get the Imperial jade seal, I can use the fate within it to cultivate. Stepping into the first rank will be within reach. And then I won't have to worry about dual cultivation with that detestable man. Achieving the first rank, I could roam freely across heaven and earth, enjoying a long lifespan. No more being a court preceptor. No more dealing with Emperor Yuanjing. No more being stuck in the capital. As these thoughts ran through her mind, Luo Yuheng's heart raced faster and faster. She could no longer sit still. Where's Suien? She asked. I'll go find him right now. The orange cat chuckled. No need to look for him. The jade seal was destroyed. All the fate it contained has been absorbed by Suien. If before you thought his fate was insufficient, well, now I can assure you that reaching the first rank is practically a sure thing. Of course, whether to dual cultivate, and with whom, is entirely your choice, junior sister. Still, I wonder if this information is worth more than 2 blood fetus pills. As he finished speaking, a porcelain bottle flew gracefully from Luo Yuheng's sleeve. The orange cat leapt high into the air, catching it securely and tucking it away. After listening to Taoist Golden Lotus, Luo Yuheng sat motionless like a statue for a long time. Suddenly, her long, curling lashes quivered, and she seemed to come back to life. At that moment, Mu Lanji came running over, lifting her skirts. Master Preceptor. Master Preceptor, Luo Yuheng calmly asked. What's the matter? Mu Lanji spoke quickly. A letter arrived at the palace from the border. It says that the Northern King is nearing the pinnacle of the 3rd grade. By early next year at the latest, or even as soon as the end of this year, he may reach the peak. Luo Yuheng frowned. So soon? Mu Lanji paced back and forth anxiously. This is terrible. Absolutely terrible. After a pause, Luo Yuheng asked, what's so terrible about it? If he advances to the 2nd grade, as the Northern King's consort, your rank would be second only to the Empress. Even the Imperial concubines and noble consorts would have to defer to you. Mu Lanji scowled. Who cares about that? By the way, Song Xian returned with his deputy general, that rough, brutish warrior. The deputy even asked. Meanwhile, back in the capital, Suien finished a meal in Linen Prefecture, then bid farewell and left. He mounted his beloved mare, reflecting on his visit to Linen Prefecture. Chess, as it turned out, was still too difficult for him. He didn't particularly enjoy it, but he did cherish the chessboard they had made together and his wife's company. He also liked the picture book of Dragon Aotion and Purple Haze, though he seemed a bit disappointed in this issue's content. When asked what he thought was lacking, he wouldn't say, hemming and hawing instead. Today, he held Linen's hand twice, once while teaching him to play chess, and once while boating on the rear lake. It proved that as long as he wasn't too blatant about it, Linen could accept a bit of physical contact. A promising sign. Stay steady, stay steady. For now, love is like a carriage. Linen is inside. I'm outside. In the not-so-distant future, love will be like a bed. Linen is beneath me. I'm inside him. Before long, Suien returned to the Night Watchman headquarters. At that moment, a familiar voice called from the entrance. Dalong, Dalong. Suchien's face stiffened. How many times have I told you? Call me young master in public. And what are you doing at the office? Gatekeeper Old Zhang explained. A young lady came from the manor and said she was looking for you. When asked about her relationship to you, she wouldn't say, just insisted on meeting you. Lady Ning asked me to come get you, Old Zhang added. Suien thought for a moment, considering the women in his life. First, he ruled out Kai Wei. She was a regular visitor at the Su Manor. As for Lady Fu, it couldn't be her either. She wouldn't show up out of nowhere. Moreover, Lady Fu's husband wouldn't come to visit. Meanwhile, at an inn in the inner city, students from Yunlu Academy, including Zhu Tuizi, were drinking with their classmates. Who would have thought? Your Yunlu Academy's Su Sijio snatched the Spring Hunt Championship this year, a student from the Imperial Academy lamented. For us at the Imperial Academy, this is a grave humiliation. If it were in the past, this would have been a major scandal, another Imperial Academy student said. But if it's Su Sijio, everyone respects him, another student recited solemnly. Traveling is hard, traveling is hard. So many paths lead astray. Yet a time will come when I'll hoist the sails and cross the blue sea. Whenever they reread this poem, they were filled with a surge of pride. They, as students of Yunlu Academy, felt deeply honored. Only Zhu Tuizi remained silent. Because the Imperial Academy students were bitter, Zhu Tuizi finally laughed. It seems Zhu brother isn't very happy. Zhu Tuizi took a sip of wine. We are all failed candidates. What's there to be happy about? While Yunlu Academy and the Imperial Academy have a rivalry over orthodoxy, the hostility between students on both sides is limited to that alone. After all, the orthodoxy dispute is too distant for the average student to care about. Besides, the majority of students don't even have a chance at becoming officials. If one side extended an olive branch, it wouldn't be hard to sit down together and enjoy a drink. Imperial Academy student Lu Ju frowned. Why do you say that Su Sijio, said to be talented in poetry and letters, was previously so ordinary and unheard of? Zhu Tuizi scoffed. As a classmate and rival, I know Su Sijio's abilities inside and out. Don't just take my word for it. Even I, A Yunlu Academy student. Never heard of him before. Hearing this, Lu Ju squinted slightly and asked cautiously, what exactly do you mean, Brother Zhu? Recalling a past grudge, Zhu Tuizi. Sutsijio's poetry is garbage. I could throw together a few lines that would leave him utterly humiliated. If not for me writing poems for his cousin Suien, the jade pendant from Xiang Pavilion would have been mine. Lu Ju probed. Could it have been written by Kuju Wu? Zhu Tuizi shook his head. Impossible. Poetry is not like prose. Even if you knew the topic in advance, it wouldn't make the poem itself great. Brother Lu, if I gave you the theme of spring scenery and 3 days to write, could you produce a masterpiece? Lu Ju chuckled. Even if you gave me 3 years, I doubt I could produce something like that. But Brother Zhu, think about it. What if the person who wrote it for him was none other than Suien? Zhu Tuizi didn't immediately refute this, but instead thought carefully. If it really was Suien, and he knew the topic ahead of time, then even 1 day would be enough for him to write it. The farewell poem, the plum blossom poem, and that piece in Yunzhou, even the half-verse sung before sacrifice, was composed on the spot. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth and let out a cold snort. He asked angrily, and what of Suien, the silver gong, who supposedly knew the exam topic in advance? Lu Ju dismissed it with a wave. Just baseless speculation. But that Suien is indeed a silver gong. Rumor has it he's highly trusted by the government. He stopped there, and with that twist in the conversation, he lost interest in drinking. After sitting for a while, he got up and left. Lu Ju, adept at socializing, personally saw Zhu Tuizi and the others off downstairs, and even volunteered to settle the bill. They each went their separate ways outside the inn. A quarter of an hour later, Lu Ju returned, climbing into a carriage parked outside the inn. Inside the carriage sat a middle-aged man dressed as a wealthy merchant. Lu Ju bowed respectfully and greeted him. Manager Zhao. The middle-aged man frowned at the smell of alcohol. Drink some tea, he said. Lu Ju held the teacup with both hands and downed it in one gulp. Thank you, Manager Zhao, he said slowly. I've gathered some information. From what those Yunlu Academy students said, Sutsijio can't write poetry at all. His skills are abysmal. He chuckled. Most likely, someone ghostwrote it for him. Of course, I have no proof. The middle-aged man smiled in satisfaction. No need for proof, he said. This is enough. Meanwhile, in a courtyard on the city's outskirts, Taoist Jinlian, having just swallowed a blood fetus pill, basked in the warm spring sunshine. His body no longer felt cold and lifeless, no longer shifting toward yin energy. The remaining traces of yin in his body could be fully eliminated with another pill. Taoist Jinlian silently prayed. This body does not yet fully align with my soul. It won't take much longer. Fortunately, the fortune golden lotus has matured. Its seeds can reshape my physical body. I should break away from the scriptures. Hopefully, nothing unexpected will happen. Just as Suien returned to the Su Manor, a servant hurried to report, Dalong is back. There's a young lady here looking for you. She said a lot of things, but I didn't understand most of it. She doesn't seem to be from around here. Suchien's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that girl from the southern borders? What on earth is she doing at my house? Did Taoist Jinlian send her? Does she know about me being number 3? As Suien mulled it over, he entered the inner courtyard. From a distance, he heard a gentle voice. His sister Su Linyue speaking. Miss Lena, you've come a long way from the southern borders. Looking for my brother seems fitting. Lena responded in halting official speech. I'm not here to find your brother. I'm just traveling around with some friends. Suien, now visibly surprised, eyed the girl, who had arrived from the southern borders. Miss Lena, what brings you to my house? Lena quickly set down her chopsticks. Taoist Jinlian told me to find you, she said. He said I'd be staying here for a while. Thank you, Lord Su, for saving my— Lena looked directly at Suien with gratitude. She had assumed that upon arriving in the capital, she would be received either by Taoist Jinlian, or by number 3, 4, or 6. To her surprise, she ended up staying at the home of a stranger. But after learning about yesterday's events, she understood. This young and handsome silver gong was her savior. Since he was a trusted friend of the Taoist, Lena decided to trust him completely as well. Suien stared at Lena for a moment, trying to discern her intentions. From her clear and innocent eyes, she's calling me Lord Su instead of number 3. Why did Taoist Jinlian arrange for her to stay here? Could there be a deeper purpose? Silver Gong didn't even consult me before acting. So Suien asked, what else did Taoist Jinlian tell you? With a mouthful of steamed bun, Lena mumbled. Taoist Jinlian said, you are his close friend in the capital. He told me to stay here peacefully. After swallowing her bun, she added indignantly, he also said I eat too much, and he can't afford to keep me. Suchien's expression froze. It turns out the reason Taoist Jinlian sent her here was that she eats too much. He couldn't afford it. Well, that's certainly an irrefutable reason, Su thought. Following the same logic, neither number 6, who lives in a retirement home, nor number 4, who relies on the established class, could afford to support a girl from the southern borders either. Damn it. Being treated as a rich fool feels terrible. In the martial world, it's always either you leech off me, or I leech off you. Ah, karma. Su sighed. Just then, his aunt coughed loudly. To assert her presence as the matron of the household, Suien ignored her and made his own arrangements. Fine, I'll have a room prepared for you. His aunt screeched angrily. Su Ningyan, I'm your aunt. How could you not discuss this with me? Suien was about to retort, but his gaze fell on the messy dining table, and he hesitated. Aunt's point was valid. Food prices in the capital were steep, and this girl could eat like a horse. Brother, Su Linyue chimed in. Don't forget about the fund. Last year, the Yen Saltworks issued 2,000 caddies of salt notes and made 5,000 taels. You still have a 10% share, 500 taels of that, and you haven't seen a single coin of it yet. I asked someone at the Yen Saltworks. The court plans to set up at least 10 more workshops this year. They'll produce that fund, a year's end. It'll amount to an unimaginable fortune. So, we're actually not short on money anymore. Both Aunt and Suien widened their eyes, staring at his little sister as honestly, I'd almost forgotten. Turns out I'm a rich fool too, huh? Su Lingyue mentioned a fund that only prints rock tickets. Now, the fund and rocks have become essential strategic resources for the court. Last year, it was newly introduced and couldn't be mass-produced. But this year, after expanding production, the profits are beyond estimation. Suien was pleasantly surprised to find that he had already become this era's Jack Ma, but he couldn't help complaining. It must have been that old man blocking the fund from my memory, making me forget he tried to swindle me. Lena didn't understand a word they were saying, but it seemed impressive. Moreover, this Lord Su obviously looked very wealthy. At this point, the aunt muttered, how come I didn't know about this? Suien turned to his sister and asked, Aunt didn't know? I had Lin Yu tell you. Su Lingyue looked puzzled and said, I think Lady Su forgot. Aunt opened her mouth but couldn't speak, uncertain if she had really forgotten. She had no impression of such a huge profit. Just then, Lena, sounding admiring, asked, may I know Lord Su's full name? Suien knew he'd become quite prominent now, so he felt confident in supporting another glutton. He generously gave his name. Lena tilted her head and thought for a moment, then suddenly screamed, Suien, you're Suien. Weren't you supposed to be dead in Yunzhou? Suien led Lena out of the side hall. They stopped by the flower pond, and he explained, I didn't die. Li Miaojin got it wrong. I'm actually an outer member of the Heaven and Earth Society. Even though I don't have the corresponding fragments, I'm very familiar with your situation. Lena smiled happily. No wonder the Golden Lotus Taoist told me to find you. Suien thought, this gullible girl is easy to fool. So he said with a smile, this is a secret. You can't reveal it, not even within the Heaven and Earth Society. Lena nodded earnestly. She promised not to tell. Seeing that there was nothing else, Suien sent her back to finish her meal. He watched her lively and cheerful figure bouncing away, and genuinely sighed. How wonderful it would be if everyone in the world were as simple, as innocent as number 5. The Grand Secretariat is equivalent to the Emperor's personal secretaries, holding great power, far surpassing the 6 ministries. All the various memorials from the court, and even suggestions from the common people to the Emperor, were handled by the Office of Transmission and the Ministry of Rights. The Emperor would review them before passing them to the Grand Secretariat, which would draft opinions and recommendations. The Secretariat of Rights would then submit the suggestions to the Emperor for final decisions. This dynasty, the Office of Transmission began delivering memorials directly to the Grand Secretariat. The Grand Secretariat drafted recommendations and then passed them to the Department of Prospects. One step in the process was omitted. This was because the Department of Prospects believed that the extra step hindered their cultivation. Ironically, the omitted step contained the most intrigue, because now, the Emperor only saw the memorials the Grand Secretariat wanted him to see. Of course, although the Yuanjing Emperor wasn't a good emperor, he was skilled in balancing power. To curb excessive influence of the civil officials and prevent the weakening of imperial authority, he came up with a balanced solution. He brought in Wei Yuan. In the grand scheme of things, the various factions were at odds with Wei Yuan's party. On a smaller scale, the factions fought bitterly among themselves. The Yuanjing Emperor remained above it all, maintaining the balance and focusing on his cultivation. Wang Zhongwan opened the last memorial. After reading its contents, he pondered quietly for a long time. Then, he took out a note, wrote his suggestions on it, and attached it to the memorial. After doing all this, it was just in time for the end of his workday. In the evening, at the Su residence, there was a new formidable adversary at the dinner table. This newly arrived elder sister. The little one had a love-hate relationship with her. He loved that ever since his sister arrived, the food at home had multiplied several times over. But he hated that this big sister ate far too much. With his small mouth, he simply couldn't compete with her. Uncle Su Pingji eyed Lena critically, then turned and asked his nephew, is she from the southern border's ancient tribes? Before Lena could lift her face from her bowl, her mouth still dotted with grains of rice, she chirped, I'm from the Rib tribe. How did you know, Uncle Su? Su Pingji snorted coldly. Who's your uncle? Back in the Battle of Shanhaiguan, I personally experienced the brutal fighting. I saw firsthand the terrifying resilience of the Rib tribe. Their defining trait is their appetite. A strong Rib tribesman could eat an entire cow in one day, as if it were nothing. Back then, Wei Yuan never took Rib tribesmen as prisoners. They were killed outright to save rations. At that moment, Suien suddenly spoke up. Big brother, I need to tell you something. Suien, while wrestling a piece of meat from Lina, replied to his cousin, I knew you had something on your mind. You've been frowning all day. Let's hear it. Suien cautiously said, Miss Wang invited me to go boating tomorrow. Suien thought for a moment and asked, what do you think? Suien smirked, his disdain evident. It's one of two reasons. Either she wants to save face for that Ministry of Justice secretary's niece, or the Wang family doesn't want to let me off easy. They're plotting something behind my back. Suien thought for a bit, then said, which do you think it is? Though I may become a serious threat to the Wang family in the future, I doubt they're that fixated on me. I think it's Miss Wang up to no good. Su Lingyue put down her chopsticks, her face serious. Second brother, you're not great at dealing with women. I'll go with you. She quickly glanced at Suien, then changed her tone, though I'm not one to stir up trouble either. Women understand women best. Suien scoffed at his older sister's logic. Who said I have to go? It's Miss Wang inviting me on the lake, not the Wang manor. In that case, since I'm unmarried and she's unmarried, if we were to go, it's just normal, but I'll refuse. If the enemy advances, I retreat. Is the art of war. Never confront them directly. Suien gave him a sidelong glance. You've already decided, so why are you even asking me? The family continued. The atmosphere warm and harmonious. The next morning, after finishing his meditation, the Yuanjing emperor studied scriptures for half an hour. Then, after a short break, he ended his morning session. At this point, he finally set aside some time to review memorials. He examined a memorial from the new junior censor, detailing how Zhao Tingfang from the East Pavilion University had accepted bribes to give the Yunlu Academy student Suien advanced knowledge of the topics. The memorial also presented evidence that this student's poems were so poor that there's no way he could have written a masterpiece like Xinglu Nan. At first, the Yuanjing emperor didn't pay much attention. Poetry isn't the same as essays. Cheating on essays is far more serious. Poetry is a lighter matter. Even if you know the topic, it's harder to find a true poet than to get the topic. But then the memorial mentioned that the student had an elder cousin working at the night watchman's office named Suien, and everyone knew that Suien was a famous scholar. The Yuanjing emperor's eyes sharpened, though he said nothing. He then took the Grand Secretariat's proposal, which stated their recommendation. Imperial examinations are crucial for selecting talent. They must be above reproach. We urge your majesty to investigate thoroughly. The Yuanjing emperor considered this, then picked up his brush and wrote, thoroughly investigate. The characters were strong and decisive. The Yuanjing emperor lightly tossed the approved memorial to the old eunuch and chuckled. Tell me, do you think this New Year incident is genuine? The old eunuch quickly scanned the memorial, then replied, this old servant is slow-witted, but I believe there may be something to it. The Yuanjing emperor gave a faint order. Have the local authorities and the Ministry of Justice investigate this case thoroughly. The old eunuch respectfully bowed and left. The Yuanjing emperor stood at the window, gazing at the blue sky beyond the study. Suddenly, he smiled strangely and murmured, 1 stone, 3 birds. As the old eunuch left the imperial study, he bowed his head and walked briskly. 100 meters away, he nervously patted his chest. He approves it and still asks me for my opinion. Wei Yuan, it's not that I don't want to help you. My life is more important. Not long after, imperial orders were sent to both the Ministry of Justice and the local authorities. Minister Son of the Ministry of Justice seemed to have expected this. Upon receiving the order, he immediately dispatched someone to arrest Suien. In the Chen residence, after receiving the imperial order, Chun secretly sighed and shook his head, quoting, riding the waves, there will be times, but beware of a single wave wiping you out completely. He immediately called for Xiaoying. Send someone at once to arrest Suien, Chun ordered, and bring him back for questioning. Make sure you get to him before the Ministry of Justice, he added, and inform Suien Luo as well. Over at the Su residence, the aunt was taking Su Lingyue and Su Lingling, and their guest Lina out to have fun. Lina, gazing at Su Erlang's profile under a tree, praised generously, Su Erlang is so handsome. If he were in my tribe, women would be fighting over him like crazy. The aunt immediately became wary, as if she had spotted a wild pig, eyeing her precious cabbage. Is this southern border dark-skinned girl hinting she's interested in Erlang? She wondered. She's dreaming. A toad wanting swan meat. At that moment, a series of chaotic footsteps sounded at the Su residence gate. A group of people barged into the Su residence rudely. Poor old Zhang, unable to get out of the way, received a few kicks. The lead constable ignored this entirely, glanced at a portrait he was holding, then pointed at the shocked Su Erlang and said, that's Suien. Seize him. The aunt was astonished. Out of protective instinct, She didn't hesitate and immediately stood in the way, her eyebrows raised. Who are you people? What right do you have to take Erlang? The constable waved his hand, roughly ordering her to step aside. If you interfere, you'll be taken too. Lena immediately stepped forward, gently pushing the two officials in the chest. With two screams, the officials went flying. The officer was lightly pushed by Lena, and he went flying. The remaining officers drew their weapons, pointing their blades at Lena. The southern girl's eyes grew dark, as she sized up the people before her. She could kill them all in 10 breaths. The aunt, still shaken, hid behind Lena, realizing how dependable this small, dark-skinned girl was. She was truly reliable. At that moment, Suien shouted, "Stop!" His cold gaze swept over the officers. "I am a scholar," he declared. "I hold a title. You have barged into my home, weapons drawn. This is a grave crime." The lead constable said sternly, "We are acting on orders from the Ministry of Justice, summoning you to answer questions at the Yamen." Suien frowned. "What crime have I committed?" The constable waved his hand. "Come with us, and you'll find out," he said. "Take him." Lena was about to step in again, but Suien stopped her. He stepped forward, saying to the officers, "I'll go with you." The aunt and Su Lingyue followed to the gate, watching until the officers led Suien out of sight. Lena murmured, "Has Erlang been caught stealing silver too?" "I know. In Dafeng, stealing silver gets you arrested by the authorities." Just then, old Zhang from the gatekeeper's quarters hurriedly got up. "Madam, miss, I'll send word to master right away," he said. The aunt and Su Lingyue turned at the same time, both saying in unison, "Call Dalong at the night watchman's office." When Suien got the news, he froze, caught completely off guard. The son of the gatekeeper, looking anxious, said, "Dalong, think of something quickly. The madam and the young miss are so upset they're crying." Suien asked calmly, "Why did they arrest him?" The gatekeeper's son shook his head. "A group of officials suddenly barged in, even pushed my father down, and took Erlang away just like that." "I understand," Suien said. "Go back and tell the madam and Lingyue not to worry. I'll handle it." "Dalong, you should go tell them yourself," the gatekeeper's son pleaded. "They'd feel better hearing it from you." Suien nodded and waved him off. Then he got up and left the Hall of One Blade. He decided to make a trip to the Ministry of Justice to figure out why they had arrested Su Erlang. Surely the Minister of Justice wasn't just stirring up trouble to avenge his niece. If that was the case, it would be easy to handle. Erlang had an official title. Petty issues couldn't do much to him, but the major players in the court wouldn't arrest someone without reason, even if they were taking revenge. They must have found some leverage, and were certain of their success before acting. So Erlang must have gotten himself into trouble. I just don't know what it is yet. As Suien left the night watchman's office, Lu Qing, a junior secretary from the censorate, approached. "Master Su, the censorate sent me to inform you. Member Su is in trouble." Suien nodded and said, "I know. He was just taken away by the Ministry of Justice." Lu Qing sighed. "It seems they moved faster." Suien said, "Master Lu, please come in. I have a question." Since he was already in custody, Suien decided to gather more information first. Lu Qing entered the Hall of One Blade. He said that the Emperor had issued a decree to investigate allegations of cheating in Su's Imperial examination. Upon hearing this, Suien's heart sank. The poem, Xinglu Nan, had indeed been written by him for Erlang, but did that count as cheating? Yes, he had guessed the topic correctly. Predicting topics wasn't encouraged, but it had never been explicitly forbidden. In fact, it was for students in various places. Strictly speaking, it wasn't considered cheating. The issue wasn't the prediction itself, Suien said in a low voice. "So it's the Emperor who ordered this investigation?" Lu Qing shook his head. "I don't know. Master Su, you mustn't jump to conclusions." Realizing he'd misspoken, Suien quickly stopped talking. But this point was crucial. If the Yuanjing Emperor was behind this, if that were the case, it would be difficult to handle. Erlang's future would be nearly ruined. In the Imperial family's eyes, if scholars are deemed unnecessary, they're discarded. After pondering for a long time, Suien clasped his hands and said, "Thank you, Secretary Lu, for your warning. I must hurry to address this issue." Lu Qing rose and said, "Lord Su, please see me out." Suien didn't refuse. The two walked side by side. And to outsiders, they appeared to be a well-matched couple. If not for the current situation, Suien might have made a few teasing remarks. At this point, "Lord Su, you should go to the Ministry of Justice. Once he's in their hands, he's at their mercy. If you wait, he might confess to anything." With that, Lu clasped his hands and said goodbye. The decision was now up to Suien. Suien didn't respond, just nodded solemnly. Then he turned and went to the curious tower. He was undecided. Wei Yuan said, "I haven't received any notification from the palace. That means the Emperor doesn't want me to know, at least not immediately." Suien asked, "Is the Emperor targeting me?" Wei Yuan frowned. "Targeting? Such a vulgar term. You Su brothers aren't important enough for the Emperor to act personally. You've likely been set up by someone else. As for the motive, historically, when cheating is involved, it usually implicates the examiners. This time, the three main examiners were Grand Academician Zhao Tingfang of the East Pavilion, Censor Lu Hong, and Grand Academician Qian Qingshu of the Wuying Hall. Qian Qingshu can be ruled out first, Wei Yuan said. Suien asked, why is that? Wei Yuan calmly replied, the memorial must pass through the cabinet first, and the cabinet is controlled by Wang Zhongwen's faction. Understand? Suien nodded. The Wang faction didn't reject the memorial, which means this has nothing to do with Qian Qingshu. Furthermore, Wei Yuan continued, your cousin Suien is from Yunlu Academy. Although the court is divided into factions, they have an unspoken agreement to suppress Yunlu Academy. This is the main reason for the cheating allegations. In this year's Imperial examination, Suien said, none of Yunlu Academy scholars warned me. Wei Yuan replied gently. Facing suppression is inevitable, but it might not be under the pretense of cheating. Even if Suien became the top scorer, he could still be sidelined. In the Imperial court, there are always ways. How can one prepare against them? After all, Suien is your cousin, and you are my trusted aide. If you were to come to me for help regarding such an important matter, and if I intervened, you'd be seen as my supporter. Our emperor enjoys watching me clash with the civil officials. That's why news from the palace hasn't reached us. For the first time, Suien realized how inexperienced he really was. Two birds with one stone. No, wait, if there's someone behind the examiner as well, it's three birds with one stone. As for Su Erlang, being implicated in a cheating case leaves only three outcomes. Either the evidence is conclusive, leading to exile or execution, or the evidence is conclusive, but the offense is minor, resulting in disqualification and a lifetime ban, or there's no proof, but his reputation is still ruined. Scholars can be so despicable. If they have a grievance, why not settle it with swords? A clean fight, quick and decisive. Why resort to such underhanded, insidious schemes? Suien said anxiously, Lord Wei, what should I do? Wei Yuan replied calmly, I can intervene, but that would mark Suien as my man. He'd never shed that label in his lifetime. Suien was truly worried. Lord Wei, isn't there another way? Wei Yuan said calmly, there is a way. He glanced sharply at Suien, but you're not capable of it. Suien clenched his teeth in frustration. He truly felt cornered. What should he do? What could he do? Meanwhile, at the Ministry of Justice, Su Ershu was blocked at the main. How dare a lowly official try to barge in? Get out now, or I'll get rough. Su Pingji, suppressing his chi-enhanced strength, gritted his fists tightly. I am Suien's father, he declared. I have the right to visit him. One of the guards sneered. Prisoners accused of exam fraud cannot receive visitors. It's always been the rule. What would a literate idiot like you know? Su Pingji's eyebrows shot up in anger. You dare ask me for 30 taels, then block my way? The guard sneered again. What of it? This is the Ministry of Justice. What can you do? Hit me. Try it if you dare. Just then, a sudden burst of hoofbeats erupted. A team of gallant horses charged toward the gate. They barreled into the ministry's entrance, colliding with the two scowling guards. With a loud thud, one guard, unable to dodge in time, was hit squarely in the chest by a young mare, sending him tumbling. The other guard braced himself. Who dares cause trouble at the Ministry of Justice? When Su Pingji saw his nephew arriving, he finally felt a sense of relief. Ning Yin, people from the Ministry of Punishments. When they saw it was Inluo Suien who arrived, they all went silent. The leading guard, Chen Sheng, said, Lord Su, this is the Ministry of Punishments. You should know that attacking the ministry and injuring its guards could lead to imprisonment or exile, and in severe cases, execution. Suien ignored him. He kicked again, sending another guard sprawling. The guard let out a miserable scream and rolled on the ground, groaning in pain. Lord Su. Lord Su. The guards. Chen Sheng hesitated, then said, Please, Lord Su. The head guard choked on his words, pretending not to hear. He shouted, Do you really think the ministry doesn't have experts? Aren't you afraid of His Majesty's wrath, or the laws of the Great Feng? Suien sneered coldly, gathered his strength, and kicked again. He said to Chen Sheng, Just try to stop me. If this can't be handled, then my name Suien means nothing in the capital. The guard lay flat on the ground, his eyes rolling back, barely clinging to life. Seeing that the guard was still breathing, Suien stopped, adding, Wait a minute. I'll pay you 30 silver taels. Consider it compensation for the doctor's fee and medicine. Having vented his anger, he turned to the head guard and said, Go inside and announce, I want to see Suien. Hearing this, the head guard neither refused nor responded. He signaled with his eyes for the others to carry the two injured guards inside for treatment, then retreated into the inner area of the ministry. Shortly after, the head guard returned and said, Minister Sun invites you in. Suien turned to call out, Second uncle, let's go in together. Su Pingji silently followed. The two entered the ministry, walked through the front courtyard, and arrived in the side hall. Suien cupped his hands in respect. Greetings, Minister Sunday. The minister sat in the main seat of the side hall, sitting in his official robes, Minister Sun's expression was stern. Without a trace of emotion, he said indifferently, "You're missing a couple of words." Suchien's face darkened with displeasure. But rank crushes all. One rank higher could mean suppression, especially for someone like him, a mere low-level official. In the end, he bowed his spine, adopting the tone of a subordinate addressing a superior, cupped his hands and said, "This humble subordinate greets Minister Sunday. This humble subordinate requests a meeting with Su Xinyan." Seeing this, Su Pingji's eyes suddenly felt a little sour. Minister Sun showed a satisfied smile, but said flatly, "Cheating on the Imperial examination is a grave crime. Family visits are understandable, but rules are rules. No matter what you say, the answer is no." With that, Minister Sun ceased paying them any attention. Instead, he picked up a teacup. In officialdom, half-spoken words, followed by a raised cup without drinking symbolized finality. Su Qian turned and left, not bothering Minister Sun further. Watching their departing backs, Minister Sun said lightly, "There are some gold bars in the courtyard. I hear Lord Su has attained the spiritual discipline of Buddhism. Care to give it a try?" Su Qian's expression darkened further, and he left without looking back. As they walked out of the Ministry of Punishments, Su Pingji cursed, "That damn minister. He even wants you to carry gold bars to atone? I'd sooner draw my sword and cut him down than agree to that." Su Qian asked, "Second uncle, why did you come so quickly?" Su Pingji sighed, "You were too slow. Once I got word, I rushed home to console your aunt and Ling Yu. It was no use. All they did was cry and cry." Su Qian, "What should we do about this?" Not wanting to waste time, Su Qian mounted his horse and said, "This is a complicated matter. Uncle, you should head back. I have other business." With that, he rode off down the street. In his mind, the words of Wei Yuan echoed. First, you must prevent the Ministry of Punishments from finalizing a confession. The magistrate in the prefectural government, In Weiguan, is skilled at navigating between factions. If this matter is confirmed, he likely wouldn't dare offend Minister Sunday. Su Qian thought to himself, Minister Sun detests me deeply. The Imperial examination case gave him a perfect chance to retaliate. It was even possible that he instigated it. At the very least, he must be one of those involved. Hoping he would treat Erlang favorably was almost impossible. The mare broke into a light sweat, breathing heavily. It finally stopped in front of a courtyard in the outer city. Su Qian pushed open the gate and headed straight for Daoist Jinlian. "Daoist, I need your help." But he saw Daoist Jinlian lying peacefully on the bed, as if asleep. Su Qian knew at once. He'd gone out as the cat again. He didn't wait long. In less than 3 minutes, a slender figure appeared at the door. "What is it, Su Qian?" Su quickly explained the situation. Then he added, "My cousin, Su Xinyan, has been caught up in this Imperial exam scandal. Daoist, I need your help." The orange tabby's amber eyes stared deeply, as if rippling through the air. "I don't know enough about the Great Phone Court to offer you useful advice," he said. "This isn't something you should come to me for. Wei Yuan is the true expert in court maneuvers. If we were to grade court maneuvering skills, Wei Yuan would be second rank." Although anxious, Su Qian couldn't help but latch onto the topic. "Second rank? Who's first rank?" The orange tabby chuckled. "Naturally, it's the Yuanjing Emperor. When it comes to Imperial strategy, the Yuanjing Emperor is unmatched. Wei Yuan and Wang Zhengwan might aspire to first rank, but their philosophies clash. Their policies differ. Yuanjing has deliberately kept these two tigers on the court, sitting back and watching them." Su Qian mentally cursed. There's some truth in that. "Wait, didn't you just say you don't know much about the court?" Out loud he asked, "So, Daoist, do you think there's something beyond these ranks?" Daoist Jinlian raised a paw and licked it. "Of course. The highest state of court maneuvering is absolute dominance. One word carries ninefold weight. No one dares to oppose. Every founding emperor achieved this level." Su Qian took a moment to reflect. It seemed the Daoist was gradually adopting feline habits. Indeed, every creature is ultimately ruled by its body. Hormones dictate actions. Hunger demands food. Sleepiness requires rest. Thirst compels drinking. When the treasury overflows, one must give alms to female devotees. Which raised a new question. Did Daoist Jinlian prefer kind-hearted cats, or simply become one? At that moment, the orange tabby sighed, lowered a paw, and calmly said, "You seem to enjoy walking the line between life and death." Su Qian's mind instinctively replayed the remark, back and forth. Then he quickly changed the subject. "Daoist, I'd like to ask for your assistance." Meanwhile, just outside the capital along the southern canal, there was a lake. An hour passed. And while others made a round trip across the lake, Miss Wang's boat remained stationary. Her mood soured. A maid whispered, "Miss, let's return. The esteemed Mr. Su won't come." Wang Simu refused to accept this, glaring at her maid. "Did you fail to deliver the message?" The maid, feeling wronged, replied, "I wouldn't dare. Of course I delivered it." Wang Simu's bright eyes betrayed her disappointment. "Fine, let's head back." The maid cheerfully obeyed, leaving the cabin to tell the boatman to return. The boatman reeled in the anchor, rowed the oars, and the boat began its slow journey back to the capital along the canal. At the capital dock, Wang Simu entered a waiting carriage and instructed her maid, Lanner, go to the Su estate at once. Tell them I'm visiting Lin Yu. The maid frowned. Miss, why do you want to do that? Wang Simu said, even if he's not interested in me, I still want to know the truth. In the spring for scholars, Su Xinyan was arrested by the Ministry of Punishments on suspicion of cheating in the Imperial examination. He was thrown into a prison cell. This case, bound to shake the entire capital, spread from the prefecture and Ministry of Punishments, quietly filtering through the 6 ministries, and within a few days, became known to all. I knew it. When the students from Yunlu Academy earn membership, the court elders would object, and here it is. But you're only seeing part of it. It's definitely not that simple. Su Xinyan is Su Qian's cousin. Su Qian, the top scholar of Great Feng, is the author of Difficult Journey and other masterpieces, claiming there's no foul play? Nonsense. What? Is Su Qian the only one in the world who can write poetry? Can't we scholars have a sudden stroke of inspiration, a moment of brilliance? All right, enough. Arguing about this is pointless. This time, Scholar Su's future is sealed. Whether there was cheating or not, his prospects are grim. I recall a cheating scandal back in Yuanjing's 12th year. 3 students were implicated. It took 2 years to investigate. Eventually, they were released, but their reputations were ruined. Their studies fell apart. Chu Yuanjin, staying at a friend's house during dinner, heard about the case. Number 3 was caught in the examination scandal. Although incredibly bright, the struggle between Yunlu Academy and the Imperial Academy is not something intelligence alone can overcome. The best outcome would be the forfeiture of his title. It's a loss to the court that number 3 can't stay. Chu Yuanjin sighed. I heard the new Imperial supervisor and the Minister of Justice, but I suspect various factions are either watching from the sidelines or secretly marking the occasion. Su Xinyan is in peril. He let out a long sigh, murmuring, I left the court because I was weary of partisan struggles. Factional disputes have long been the ruin of states. The emperor cultivated his presence and authority. Chu Yuanjin's friend's face changed drastically. Be careful with your words, he warned. Chu Yuanjin chuckled. What is there to fear? I'm just a commoner now, living freely and leisurely. I've thought this over for a long time, he continued, but I can't find a way to break this stalemate, unless Wei Yuan personally steps in to fight. Given Su Ningyan's potential, Wei Yuan might have to make a decision. But perhaps that's exactly what certain people want to see. Difficult. Still no way to break the stalemate. Meanwhile, in the palace's Exine Hall, Princess Huiqing, dressed in a simple palace gown, sat behind the desk. She addressed the captain of the guards. I understand. You may leave. Once the guard captain departed, Huiqing murmured to herself, if it were me, how would I resolve this stalemate? She thought for a long time, then shook her head and sighed in resignation. But in that moment, she suddenly wondered, if it were Su Ningyan, what would he do? Inside an inn within the inner city, Sun Yao reserved a private room and invited Guo Zijian's classmates to drink together. Su Xinyan, a member of Chunwei, was arrested by my father's men. It's said to be due to corruption in the imperial exams and bribing the examiner. That silver-threaded Luo's wife and her son relied on the protection of Wei Yang'o to run rampant in the capital, writing poems to insult my father. Such offenses deserve harsh punishment. If not him, then his cousin deserves it. Ha ha ha, let's drink heartily. When the students at Guo Zijian heard this news, they felt both surprised and gratified, didn't they? The member of Tui allowed a Yunlu Academy student to win a spot. Where's the dignity of us Guo Zijian scholars? It must be corruption. Absolutely corruption. No other explanation is acceptable. Brother Sun, it's better to share joy than keep it to yourself. Such a satisfying matter. We should let it spread far and wide. That makes sense. Let's do that. Tonight. After teaching Fang Xijian, and after eating and drinking his fill, Sun Yao, drunk and tipsy, left the inn and climbed into the carriage waiting outside. With the help of a guard, he got onto the carriage, intending to take a short nap. Suddenly, he noticed a long and slender orange cat crouching. Its amber eyes quietly stared at him. There was no sound at all. After a moment, the orange cat leaped out of the carriage with its tail upright, disappearing into the bustling crowd. At the Ministry of Justice, Minister Sun summoned his subordinates, asking if Su Xinyan had confessed yet in prison. The official replied, Minister, that Su Xinyan is quite stubborn. No matter how much we beat him, he won't confess. Minister Sun snorted coldly. That means you haven't beaten him enough. Use every cruel punishment we have, and let him experience them all. Even a stone can be made to bloom. Just make sure to leave him breathing. At that moment, someone hurriedly rushed into the study. It was the steward of the Sun family. He was an old servant who had been with Minister Sun for decades. Master, something terrible has happened. The young master is missing. Minister Sun's face turned grim. What do you mean by the young master is missing? The old steward Chun replied. The servant who went out with the young master just reported back. Today, The young master hosted his classmates at the inn. After drinking, he got into the carriage. But when the carriage returned to the manor, there was no one inside. The household staff speculated it might be because the master offended someone recently. Minister Sun's expression froze completely. There's an unspoken rule in the officialdom of Dafeng. Conflicts remain just that, conflicts. They never involve family members. It wasn't out of some high moral standard. It was because if you broke the rule, others could retaliate in kind, and you'd be seen as someone who didn't follow the rules, ostracized by the entire circle. This unspoken rule held significant authority. Even the court acknowledged it. It wasn't formally written down, because it was not an official policy. But Dafeng had a system. Any official entering the capital to serve had to bring their parents or spouse and children. A formal system paved the way for an unspoken rule. This showed just how authoritative the rule was. Minister Sun muttered, "Whom have I offended?" Then suddenly, a name naturally surfaced in his mind. That scoundrel Suien. Minister Sun cursed his own foolishness. His face red with anger as he roared, "He thinks kidnapping my son will make me yield? That brat is digging his own. If anything happens to my son, there won't be a place for him in the entire capital. His whole family will pay." Despite his years in office, Minister Sun had long mastered the art of maintaining composure, but he had lost his temper twice before. Once over a deeply humiliating poem, and now, because of this brat named Suien. Suddenly, Minister Sun seemed to remember something. He bellowed, "Guards! Guards! Quickly go to the prison. No torture, no torture." Minister Sun abruptly changed his tone and ordered the steward, "Go immediately to the watchman's office and summon that scoundrel to see me." At that moment, a guard hurriedly ran in. Minister, Suien is here again." Minister Sun's eyes gleamed with golden light, and he straightened up, saying, "Good, let him in." Soon, the guard brought in Suien, dressed in silver-threaded robes. Suien wore a smiling, nonchalant expression, walking casually, a stark contrast to his earlier, restrained anger. Now, it was Minister Sun's face that mirrored Suchien's earlier expression. "Where is Sun Yao?" he demanded. "Release him immediately. If you do, I'll pretend none of this ever happened." Suien feigned confusion. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." But then his expression suddenly changed, and he snapped, Minister Sun, not only did you falsely accuse my cousin of cheating, now you're trying to frame me as well. What an utterly despicable person you are." Minister Sun glared at Suien, his mouth opening but no words coming out, so enraged he couldn't even speak. After a long moment, he dismissed the guards, and said slowly and deliberately, "I'll overlook your youth and ignorance of the rules, and give you a chance, if you want to continue your career in the capital. Release him now." Suien shook his head. "Minister Sun, you must— I have no idea what you're talking about." After a pause, he feigned sudden realization. "Judging by your words, it sounds like your son's in trouble, kidnapped by bandits. Why didn't you tell me? I'm known for solving cases quickly. Just say the word, and I promise, I'll get him back for you within a day." Minister Sun's anger flared. "Suien," he growled, "don't forget you have family." Suien sighed, looking mournful. "Minister Sun, it seems you don't know much about me. I lost my parents at a young age. My uncle raised me, but my aunt treated me horribly. At 15, she threw me out, forcing me to live in a dog kennel." Minister Sun cut him off angrily. "What do you want, exactly? You accuse me of corruption in the Imperial exams, and hint to His Majesty that the Ministry of Justice should investigate. The whole court is watching. I can't decide this on my own. If you try to use me as leverage, then we'll just have to go down together. Don't be naive." Suien narrowed his eyes. "Nowadays, it's all about who hates more. A cousin doesn't hold the same weight as a son. I can afford to lose everything, but you can't." Suien dropped his act. "I only have one demand," he said. "No harm comes to Suien in prison. Don't try to force a confession. If he loses a finger, I'll cut off one of your daughters. If he has wounds, I'll leave the same on her. Once the corruption case concludes, regardless of the outcome, I'll release your son." Minister Sun was about to yell, but before his rage boiled over, Suien sharply said, "Quiet, call me Lord Viscount." Minister Sun gave in. "Lord Viscount," he said, "why should I trust you?" Suien paced back and forth. "Does Minister Sun have a choice?" he said calmly. "Whether you trust me or not, you'll do what I say. Unless you don't care about your son, I'm not asking you to clear Suchien's name, just to stay out of it. This isn't hard." He walked up to Minister Sunday. "Just as you said, I have family too," said Chinchong. Suien learned this tactic from Wei Yuan, but the approach and plans were entirely his own. Wei Yuan didn't offer any suggestions. He did nothing at all. To hope for mercy from one's opponent is pure fantasy. This morning's mockery and cold treatment at the Ministry of Justice were proof enough. To defeat one's enemy, one must exploit their weaknesses, and most people's weakness is their loved ones. But harming family is a major taboo. The boundary was something Suien had to carefully consider and control. Minister Sun gritted his teeth and said, I'll trust you this once. I won't harm Su Erlang. And I expect my son to return safe and sound, completely unharmed. Otherwise, there will be consequences. That's only fair, replied Suien. However, I don't fully trust you either. I want to see Su Xinyan in person. Make the arrangements. Then he suddenly asked with a smile, by the way, you called me Lord Viscount very nicely. Do keep it up. Minister Sun's face turned dark, his beard trembling with fury. Soon, led by a guard, Su Qian walked through a dim passageway to the cell holding Su Xinyan. Su Xinyan was sitting with her eyes closed, leaning against the wall to rest. She was dressed in her prison garb, her face pale, and her body covered in bloodstains. Seeing his younger cousin's miserable state, Su Qian's expression darkened sharply. He was, after all, one step too late. Erlang had suffered in the prison. He had underestimated Minister Sun's eagerness to retaliate. Su Qian softly called out, Erlang, Erlang. Su Xinyan, both surprised and overjoyed, stood up from the straw mat. How did you get in here? Would Minister Sun really allow you inside? Su Qian, seeing this, relaxed and withdrew his assessing gaze. It seemed to be only superficial injuries. Then he glanced at the guards and said coldly, Leave. Su Xinyan watched the guards walk away, gritting her teeth. Those bastards. The whipping hurt like hell. Su Qian gave a small smile. Don't worry. I'll think of a way to get you out. Su Xinyan waved her hand, interrupting him. Big brother, you may not fully understand. This isn't just about exam corruption. It's about the conflict between Guozijian and Yunlu Academy. Su Qian responded calmly. No. I know exactly what's going on. Su Erlang kept on talking nonstop. Actually, I had a feeling all along. As a student of Yunlu Academy, achieving a high rank in the exams wouldn't be so simple or easy. But I'm not afraid. If the academy wants to return to the court and expand its influence, someone has to lead the way. Someone has to pave the road for those who come after. And I am that person who will break open the eternal path. Su Qian shook his head and said, Erlang, people don't admire the first person who breaks the eternal path. They admire the ones who expand that path. Su Xinyan continued, Actually, I've already come up with a solution while in prison. After all, I'm more skilled in court scheming than anyone else in the family. Even the academy's great scholars can't meddle in court affairs without official positions. But Wei Yuan can. You go ask Wei Yuan for help. I'm not asking him to exonerate me immediately. That would be too difficult, requiring a drastic upheaval. Because that would mean going to war with all the civil officials. What I'm asking is to remove my current rank, but keep my eligibility for future exams. Or even lock me up until the case is resolved, and I'll retake the Imperial exam in 3 years. The civil officials from Guozijian are mainly trying to suppress Yunlu Academy, not me personally. Seeing his older brother lost in thought, Su Erlang sighed. Yes, I know this is a bit complicated for you, big brother. Just follow my instructions. Even though I'm in prison, I can still plan from here. Su Qian smiled. Erlang, you think you're at the 18th level, but you're really just on the surface of the earth. He cleared his throat and said, Big brother has a different view. Su Xinyan was stunned for a moment, then nodded humbly, gesturing for him to continue. Su Qian then explained Wei Yuan's analysis and his own thoughts on the matter to Su Erlang. For a long time, the cell was silent. Su Erlang looked deeply shaken, and finally muttered, I see. It turns out this case has such a complicated undercurrent. Su Xinyan muttered. Su Qian consoled him. It's not convenient to discuss the details here in prison. Don't worry. Big brother will try his best to get you out. Su Xinyan forced a bitter smile. He understood that this was the Ministry of Justice's dungeon, not the place for lengthy conversations. After leaving the dungeon, Su Qian decided to return home to reassure his aunt and sister. From a distance, he could hear his aunt sobbing in the hall. Dalong, think of a way to save Erlang. Only you can save him. Su Qian comforted her. Don't worry. I've seen Erlang. He's fine, not injured. His aunt didn't believe him, her bright eyes fixed on him. Dalong, don't lie to me, Su Qian whispered. I've asked Lord Wei and the princess to pressure Minister Sunday. He won't dare harm Erlang. Don't worry. His aunt finally sighed in relief, realizing how reassuring it was to have Ningyan around. Lin Yu's eyes held a newfound respect, a warmth in her heart. As always, Big Brother never let her down, but Uncle Su's gaze towards Su Qian now carried a hint of intrigue. He hadn't expected Dalong to have such a deep connection with the princess. Unbeknownst to him, his nephew's network had grown so vast, it now left him in awe. Su Qian turned to Lena, who was as carefree as ever, and said, Stay in today, Lena. During the day, the safety of the women in the house depends on you. Lena agreed instantly. Got it. Su Qian trusted her. Although she wasn't very bright, she could certainly fight. At that moment, old Zhang from the gatehouse came in. A young lady outside is asking to see Miss Lin Yu. Lin Yu frowned. What young lady is looking for me? Old Zhang shook his head repeatedly, indicating he didn't know. Su Lin Yu didn't want to think too much. She simply instructed him to let the person in. Soon, A pretty girl in a pink dress was led inside. She wore her hair in a maid style. Though dressed as a servant, her attire was finer than what most wealthy young ladies would wear. Suien, you recognized her, her expression turning grim. It's you. The one who calls herself Lanner. The girl curtsied and said, I am Lanner. I came today to visit Miss Mingyu. Is Miss Mingyu free today? Suien Yu briefly explained to her family. She is a maid of Wang Simu, the daughter of Lord Wang of the guardhouse. Su Qian immediately felt irritated. A maid of Wang Zhongwen's daughter? What is she doing here? Mocking us? Su Yu gave her a sharp look and replied, Rueli, I have something to do today. Please tell Wang's sister I'll visit her another day. I'd love to see her then, she added with a meaningful smile. But in the next moment, her sharp gaze softened, turning her once more into a delicate and helpless younger sister. Big brother, if you're busy, go ahead. But please, take care of second brother's matter. Su Qian was about to nod, when Lanner suddenly looked anxious and asked, What happened to Su member? Aunt suddenly interjected, Your mistress is the daughter of the lord of the guardhouse? That's wonderful. My second nephew. He was falsely accused by some vile scoundrel, cheating in the Imperial exam. And now he's imprisoned in the Ministry of Justice's dungeon. Could you please ask your mistress to help my second nephew? Su Qian and Su Lin Yu's faces turned rigid. They thought, Asterisk, do you have no brains at all? Desperation shouldn't lead you straight to the enemy. Asterisk, are you trying to make things worse? Asking them to finish us off? Su Lin Yu, her face dark, said coldly, Lanner, you may leave now. Lanner was full of questions. But since her hosts had clearly given the order, she had no choice but to bid them farewell. Meanwhile, Wang Simu sat on the soft bench in a spacious carriage, occasionally lifting the window curtain to look outside, or checking the orange-red charcoal, warming the kettle on the floor. When she saw Lanner return, she vented her frustration at the girl, snapping, You're back so late. What time do you think it is? Lanner, panting with urgency, said, Miss, something terrible has happened. Catching her breath, she explained, Su Huiyuan and Ku Jiwubi have been arrested by the Ministry of Justice. Upon hearing this, Wang Simu's mind churned with mixed emotions. Her initial reaction was shock and worry, concern for Su Xinyan's future and safety. Yet a faint trace of relief followed, realizing that his absence was not due to neglecting her, but because he was detained and unable to come. I misunderstood him, she thought. Lanner then recounted in detail the events at the Su residence to her mistress, including Su Qian's cold demeanor and Su Lin Yu's aloof attitude. Wang Simu felt a pang of bitterness. The Minister of Justice's son was an ally of her father's. They must think her father was behind this. If her father really orchestrated this in secret, wouldn't that mean? Lanner's indignation broke through. How dare they? They treat you so poorly, and yet they still want your help saving Su Huiyuan? The Su family is shameless. Wang Simu frowned. Watch your mouth. That's a request from Su Qian. The astute Wang Simu quickly sensed something was off. That's strange. I've only met Su Huiyuan once. We've barely exchanged a few words. Su Qian is too clever to think I, the guardhouse lord's daughter, would help. He wouldn't know. Not even my father does. Lanner shook her head. It wasn't him. It was the Su family's matriarch, the beautiful lady we saw last time. Wang Simu's expression grew serious. The Su family matriarch asked for this? She's Su Huiyuan's mother. In a situation like this, she must think poorly of me and my family. Wang Simu mused. So why ask me for help? A woman capable of raising such a scheming daughter, a nephew of unparalleled bravery, and a son of extraordinary talent. Such a woman was no ordinary person. I need to think this through carefully. I can't be careless. Wang Simu asked, Lanner, did their matriarch insult me or my father? What was her attitude? Lanner thought for a moment. She had the best attitude in the whole family, and she seemed very sincere when asking for help. Wang Simu clenched her hands tightly, her mind filling with speculation. She began to piece things together. The first time I invited Su Huiyuan to the literary gathering, in my father's name, there was nothing unusual about it. But then, in a short span of time, I invited him to a boat outing. A careless man might not think much of it, but as a woman, especially one as perceptive as she wouldn't miss the underlying meaning. Even if she couldn't confirm my intentions, she would surely have her suspicions. So this was both a test and an opportunity. Her attitude toward me is not negative. She doesn't despise me for being a guardhouse lord's daughter. By making this, she's hinting at something. It turns out that the Su family matriarch is a wise woman. She alone saw through my intentions. This realization filled Wang Simu with a mix of awe and uncertainty. She gave her orders clearly. Lanner, head to the Imperial city. I'll go to the Yamen to find my father. Wang Zhongwan, a grand academician in the Hanlin Academy, had the academy as his natural workplace. Thus, the Hanlin Academy had become the official hub for academicians and other officials. Just as she was making her way there, a maid standing outside entered quietly, speaking in hushed tones. Master Wang, Miss Simu is here. She wants to see you. Wang Shoufu's pen paused mid-stroke. She's here? How did she enter the palace? What business does she have with the inner cabinet? 2 questions immediately came to his mind. Wang Shoufu put down his brush, stood up and said, "Let her in, through the back door. I'll wait for her in the side hall." A few minutes later, in the side hall, a composed and poised Wang Simu entered, carrying a stone box. She greeted him sweetly. "Father," Wang Shoufu sternly asked, "didn't you go boating with your friends? What are you doing here at the cabinet? How did you even get into the palace?" Wang Simu smiled and, without hurrying, opened the stone box. She presented a bowl of aromatic fish soup, speaking softly. "After having a meal at the lake, I found the fish quite plump, so I had a few caught. While they were still fresh, I brought them back to the house. I made this soup for you personally. You've been busy with official matters. You should take care of your health and drink something nourishing." Wang Shoufu's expression softened slightly. He took a small sip and praised, adding chicken essence to the fish soup. "Truly a delicacy. The 4 heavenly swords have created something extraordinary, a blessing for all defunct citizens." Wang Simu responded, "I heard a rumor once. This chicken essence wasn't actually developed by the 4 heavenly swords. By someone else, you mean?" Wang Shoufu was taken aback. "Yes, Wang Simu." According to Princess Linen, the true inventor of chicken essence was none other than Iluo Suien. The 4 heavenly swords only made some modifications. Hearing her daughter say this, Wang Jinwen froze for a moment. She didn't even take a sip for a long while, as she usually didn't pay attention to such small matters. Wang Jinwen sighed and shook her head. "This child is extraordinarily intelligent, brilliant beyond compare." Wang Simu continued chatting casually. "I originally planned for Yuanwei to bring the fish soup to you, but on the way, I met the Prince of Linen, so I went into the palace with him. Father, drink it slowly and remember to bring the bowl back afterward. Since women are not allowed in the 1 Yuan pavilion, I'll take my leave now." Hearing this, Wang Jinwen smiled and said warmly, "All right, you may go now. Father knows of your filial piety." Wang Simu let out a quiet sigh of relief and turned to leave the main hall, feeling deep inside that his cunning old father was truly a challenging person to deal with. It was so exhausting trying to outwit him. Just as he stepped out of the 1 Yuan pavilion, a maid hurried over, carrying another stone container. Then master and servant went to another grand scholar's office hall. In a separate side room, Wang Simu placed the container on the desk. He presented the fragrant fish soup and said respectfully, "Uncle Qian, I went for a boat ride today and saw that the fish in the lake were thriving and plump, so I had a few caught and made fish soup for you and my father." Uncle Qian tasted it. His eyes brightened and he praised, "The soup is flavorful and refreshing, a true delicacy since simply delicious." Uncle Qian and Wang Jinwen were old classmates, even passed the same Imperial examination year. Speaking of their achievements, Uncle Qian had ranked 3rd that year, while Wang Jinwen ranked lower and was assigned to the Hanlin Academy. Wang Simu feigned curiosity. "I've heard some news lately. It said that Su Huiyuan from Chunwei has been jailed for cheating in the Imperial exam." Uncle Qian paused and appeared pensive. He trusted the left censorate, the censorate hall, and Grand Scholar Zhao Tingfang, accepting bribes. "Thank you for recommending Su Xinyan." As for the troubles Su Xinyan faced, it wasn't something he himself wrote. It was written by Tang Xiong Su's wife, and Dai Bai. Wang Simu's expression changed slightly, his thoughts flashing quickly. Su Huiyuan's poem was indeed penned by Su Qi, and in Dai Bai. It turned out this matter even implicated East Pavilion Grand Scholar Zhao Tingfang. He quickly concealed his expression and asked, "Uncle Qian, please slow down and tell me what this is all about." Uncle Qian hesitated for a while, but seeing that he had indeed been fed, he relented. "But you must promise not to leak a single word of what you hear here." Wang Simu quickly nodded. "Of course, I'm known for my trustworthiness." Meanwhile, at the Su residence, Su Qian lay in bed, thinking about his next steps. Dealing with a minister of justice was no big deal. Getting Erlang out of criminal charges was just the first step. Next, I need to identify the real enemies among the civil officials. Although Princess Huijing has noble status, she can only watch the court's machinations unfold, unable to intervene. After all, she's a powerless princess. However, she must have hidden confidence. Wei Gong's attitude toward this matter isn't very proactive. It feels more like he's testing my abilities. If I can't handle it and go to him for help, while Wei Gong will certainly assist me, he'll be disappointed. That's inevitable. How can I get my hands on some insider information? Zhang Xuanfu might be a good candidate, but he's a man of Wei Yuan's faction. He'd be closely watched by rival civil officials, and may not know much. As he pondered, the doorman old Zhang knocked on the door and said, "Young master, a young lady has come looking for you." Su paused and said, "A lady? I have so many ladies. I can't even guess who it might be." He replied lightly, "Have her wait in the inner hall. I'll head over right away." Arriving in the inner hall, he saw a delicate maid, dressed in a riverside green skirt, standing there. Su Qian thought to himself, didn't she just come by an hour ago? Nevertheless, she retrieved a folded note from her sleeve and handed it to Su Qian. "Master Su, My lady asked me to bring this. I won't disturb you further. She left without waiting for Suien to keep her or open the note. Then she hurriedly departed. Suien unfolded the note and quickly glanced at it. His face turned serious. His expression grew more solemn. The information on the note was too significant. It clearly detailed the inside story of the Imperial exam fraud case. The new left censor-in-chief Yuan Shtong was responsible for handling the fraudulent exam case. After taking over the censorate from Wei Yuan, he had fierce confrontations with the remnants of the right censor-in-chief's faction. However, Yuan Xiong did not directly oppose the right censor-in-chief Lu Hong. If he did so, he would face direct confrontation with Wei Yuan. Even under the banner of suppressing Yunlu Academy, other factions would likely remain cold and aloof, offering limited support. Thus, a second hidden manipulator behind the case emerged. Vice Minister of War Qin Yuandao, formerly the Minister of War, was implicated in the Princess of Pingyang case and had his family executed. Originally, Vice Minister Qin Yuandao was the first in line to succeed as Minister of War, but Emperor Yuanjing appointed a small faction leader to take over the position of Minister of War. Faced with a dead-end promotion, Qin Yuandao changed his approach. He planned to enter the Grand Secretariat and oust East Pavilion scholar Zhao Tingfang, who lacked strong backing or influence. For left censor-in-chief Yuan Shtong, suppressing Su Xinyan was not just targeting a Yunlu Academy student, but also the younger cousin of Su Qian from Yinluo. If Su Qian wanted to protect his cousin's reputation, he would inevitably seek Wei Yuan's intervention. If Wei Yuan can be dragged into the fray, how could the right censor-in-chief Lu Hong not be dealt with? Besides, the note from Wang Simu also mentioned the Duke of Chao, who, together with Song Shanchong, fanned the flames. On the surface, it seems that left censor-in-chief Yuan Shtong and Vice Minister of War Qin Yuandao joined forces, along with their followers. In reality, even if one set aside Erlang's identity as a Yunlu Academy student, just being my cousin alone, with all the enemies I made during the Sangbo case, the Pingyang Princess case, and the Yuzhou case, there are bound to be people eager to seize this chance to retaliate against me. Sun Shangshu is an example. But what does the Duke of Chao intend to do? I can understand civil officials looking for trouble, but what's a rough martial noble like him doing in this mess? What's his motive? And why should I trust Wang Jinwen's daughter? Can I really believe the information she provided? But what reason would she have to deceive me? As an outsider, she should be watching Erlang's misfortune from the sidelines, enjoying herself without lifting a finger. There's no need for her to go out of her way. When in doubt, consult Wei Yuan. I'll just say that I gathered all this information myself, and then ask him to confirm it. Emerging from Haoxi Tower, Su Qian found Wei Yuan's words echoing in his mind. The Duke of Chao and the Northern King are like two sides of the same coin. Wei Yuan acknowledged the letter's contents. The Northern King has nothing to do with me, so this must be the Duke of Chao's own idea. But I'm not well acquainted with the Duke of Chao either. Why target me? Could it be related to the Vajra divine skill? This thought flashed through Su Qian's mind. On his way back to Yidao Pond, he encountered a clerk. Master Su, someone's here to see you. Su Qian's eyes flickered. Who is it? The clerk replied. Someone from the Prince of Huai's residence. Su Qian exhaled heavily. Got it. He immediately turned around and walked out of the office. He saw an extravagant carriage parked by the roadside. 2 rows of stern-looking attendants quickly came over to deliver the message. Are you Su Yinluo? General Chu is waiting for you in the carriage. After a brief pause, he heard a deep male voice from inside. Come in and let's talk. Su Qian boarded the carriage and stepped inside. Inside the spacious carriage, a man from Lozai Lake sat upright. The man from Lozai Lake made a gesture, inviting Su Qian to sit down. In a deep voice he said, I heard that your cousin got involved in the Imperial exam fraud case. Su Qian stared at him and asked probingly, General, are you? The Lozai Lake man responded cautiously, Chu Xianglong, Deputy General under the Northern King. Su Qian narrowed his eyes. The Northern King's deputy? Shouldn't the general be stationed in the north? Why are you here? Chu Xianglong calmly replied. That's not something a silver gentry like you should ask. I came to you to make a deal. Su Qian asked straightforwardly, What deal, General? Chu Xianglong stared at him intently. Give me the training method for the Vajra divine skill, and I'll help you get your cousin out of jail. Su Qian's face darkened immediately. So it's about the Vajra divine skill after all. Of course. What martial artist wouldn't covet such a powerful defensive technique? This technique, this invincible body that monks can achieve through it, even elite martial artists crave it. In that case, it seems the Duke of Chao and this man are conspiring against me for it. They want to take advantage of my situation, to profit from me. Su Qian reminded, not everyone can learn the Buddha's Vajra divine skill. It takes great fortune and opportunity. Chu Xianglong said coldly, I don't need you to remind me. You've already mastered the Vajra divine skill, so you must understand its profound principles. Just record the secrets of the Vajra divine skill. Whether I can master it is my concern. As long as you write down the principles, I'll have my ways to get him out. Su Qian sneered inwardly. You're not just trying to squeeze every drop from me. You're also playing me for a fool. he asked. May I ask, General, how exactly will you get him out? Chu Xianglong calmly replied. I have my ways. Suien sneered. This case involves a tangled mess of interests. The civil officials won't just listen to you. Don't treat me like a 13-year-old child. Chu Xianglong remained composed. I said I'd get him out, not that I'd clear his name. He's a small figure. No one will hound him forever. He'll be able to reapply and retake the exams in 3 years at most. With Yunlu Academy's that will be the best place for him. Suien's eyes flickered. But my condition is that you get him out first. Chu Xianglong agreed readily. Sure, no problem. The conversation ended. Suien left the carriage, standing expressionless by the street. At this point, he could confirm the Duke of Chao's true motive in stirring the waters. Suien clenched his teeth silently. These bastards have been eyeing my Vajra divine skill all along. Before, my rising momentum kept them at bay. Now they're taking advantage of the exam fraud case to suppress Erlang, trying to force me into surrendering. Sure, I'll hand it over, but just wait and see how I'll turn the tables on them. After a full day and night of fermenting and spreading, with the push from newcomers, the rumors about the Imperial Examination 5 Necessities scandal exploded the next day. From nobles to commoners, everyone was discussing the matter, making it a popular topic during leisure time. The most heated discussions took place among scholars. Some doubted Suien's involvement in cheating, many more chose to believe it, even slamming their tables in agreement, praising the court for its decisiveness. They insisted on severely punishing those who violated examination rules, to give all scholars in the world a satisfactory explanation. Suien's reputation took a nosedive. Once admired and respected, he became the target of widespread condemnation. Meanwhile, imprisoned Suien remained unaware of all this. He was about to face the first interrogation by the Ministry of Justice and the local authorities. In the interrogation room, the deputy minister and the assistant magistrate sat behind the desk, sipping tea while discussing the case. The assistant magistrate expressed confusion. Why doesn't the deputy minister use torture? The deputy minister replied that it was under the orders of Minister Sunday. This Suien is just a young lad. I'll give him a stern lecture first, rattling him, then proceed with the interrogation step by step. Assistant magistrate, I'll need you to play the stern role, show a fierce face, and maybe threaten with punishment. Scholars nowadays are quick with words, but they pale at the sight of shackles. At that moment, the bailiff brought Suien out of his cell and into the interrogation room. Su greeted the officials with a bow. The deputy minister of justice slammed his hand on the table. Suien, he declared, you've been accused of bribing the chief examiner Zhao Tingfang to engage in the Imperial Examination 5 Necessities scandal. Is it true? Su calmly shook his head. Nonsense, he said. The deputy minister sneered. You bribed Zhao Tingfang's steward, offering 300 taels of silver. Through the steward, you got the exam questions in advance. Zhao's steward Zhu Yu has already confessed. Here's his testimony. Read it for yourself. He pulled a statement from his sleeve and handed it to Su through the bailiff. Suien took the testimony and read it carefully. It was very detailed, even down to the exact timing of the transactions, and virtually flawless. Suien tossed the so-called testimony aside, remarking lightly, typical work of the Ministry of Justice. Even I, the accused, can't find a loophole, but I have my own piece of evidence as well. Would you like to see it, gentlemen? The deputy minister asked. What evidence? Su Erlang responded dismissively. Paper and ink, please. As soon as he spoke, the bailiff brought in a small table with writing materials. Suien stood by the table, picked up the brush, and dipped it in ink. He began writing rapidly. Afterward, he pressed his handprint onto the paper, handed it over, and said, Please take a look. The deputy minister instructed the bailiff to bring it over. When he read it carefully, his expression froze. Then his breathing grew heavier. Suddenly, he tore up the paper. Enraged, he shouted, Apply punishment. Punish him now. The assistant magistrate was taken aback. This wasn't the plan. The accused hasn't even lost his composure yet. Why is the deputy minister losing his cool first? What had Suien written to make a high-ranking official lose control like that? Suien sneered with disdain. Just because you write down the time, place, people involved, and details of an incident, then add a handprint, does that prove I bribed a steward? Well, deputy minister, how about I call you father and let you hear it? Every detail of what your father and mother did is written clearly, plainly, for everyone to see. The deputy minister was livid. Apply punishment. I'll make this arrogant scholar beg for death. The assistant magistrate quickly stepped forward to calm him. Minister's orders. No punishment. The deputy minister scoffed coldly, forcing himself to suppress his anger, but said no more. The assistant magistrate, slightly bewildered, resumed the interrogation. Suien, did you commit the 5 necessities scandal? Su declared firmly, No, I, Su, have always conducted myself honorably. I have never committed the 5 necessities scandal. Xiaoyin turned to look at the white-robed mage from the Office of Celestial Supervision. The white-robed mage nodded faintly. It was said that this man was the cousin of Mr. Su. The Su gentleman had arrived in the capital 4 days earlier, having warned that anything Su Xinyan said was the truth. Suien then asked, "Was that poem, Hardship on the Road, your work?" Su Xinyan straightened his chest and replied, "Yes, it was written by me." The white-robed mage replied mechanically, "He is not lying." Suien and the deputy minister exchanged glances. The latter said, "This case is deeply entangled and quite complex. How about we adjourn and reconvene another day?" The Minister of Justice nodded in agreement. The following day, the assistant magistrate came to the Ministry of Justice to join the interrogation. The accused, Su Xinyan, was instead led to see Minister Sunday. Minister Sun sat in a large chair, smiling as he greeted. "His Majesty takes this case very seriously. He has ordered us repeatedly to uncover the truth as soon as possible. Now that Zhao Tingfang's steward has confessed, we just need to get Su Xinyan to confess, and this case will be closed. Isn't that right?" Suien replied cautiously. "But, Minister, you have prohibited the use of torture. How could Su Xinyan ever confess?" Minister Sun smiled kindly and said, "Getting someone to confess does not necessarily require torture." Suien inhaled sharply, showing a troubled expression. Minister Sun, still smiling gently, said, "No need to rush. Let's return and consult with the prefect before making a decision." Suien returned to the prefecture and relayed Minister Sun's words to the prefect. The prefect hesitated not for a moment. "Very well, do as Minister Sun instructed." Suien said hesitantly, "But, sir, this is against protocol. If Su Xinyan is innocent." The prefect leaned back in his chair and said coldly, "Whether Su Xinyan is innocent or not doesn't matter. He's just a minor player. What they want is evidence of guilt, not the truth. With evidence of guilt, they can fight their battles in court. With evidence, if they can secure the evidence, they'll gain the upper hand. If we refuse to comply, the case will stall here, and you won't be able to shoulder the responsibility for it." Suien had nothing more to say. He bowed and said, "Your insights are remarkable, my lord." The prefect shook his head and muttered, "It's strange that Duke Wei hasn't stepped in. How curious. Send Lu Qing to the night patrol headquarters and discreetly inform Su Qian. Tomorrow's court session will be something to see." At dawn the next day, civil and military officials, all in their robes, moved through the main gate in an orderly manner to attend the Imperial audience. They entered the Golden Throne Hall and waited in silence for a quarter of an hour. Emperor Yuanjing arrived late, and the court's rather stifling atmosphere seemed to give rise to a surging undercurrent. A whirlpool of tension spread among the gathered officials. The grand drama was beginning to unfold. The key architects behind this scheme, the assistant censor-in-chief Yuan Xiong and the deputy minister of war Qin Yuan Dao, straightened their backs and exuded a strong sense of determination and confidence. Also among them was Minister Sun, who had been actively suppressing the Su brothers. And behind the scenes, those who had fueled the fire of the Five Necessities case were aiming to claim invincible accolades for their families and ranks. A murmur of voices greeted the Emperor Yuanjing's arrival. "Does any minister have a matter to present?" he asked. Minister Sun immediately stepped forward. He raised a hand and announced, "We have investigated and confirmed that the senior grand scholar Zhao Tingfang accepted bribes from a candidate, Su Xinyan. With the truth revealed and the case solved, 3 individuals were found to be involved: Su Xinyan, a student of Yunlu Academy, the senior grand scholar Zhao Tingfang, and his steward, who acted as the middleman. Furthermore, according to Su Xinyan's own testimony, he was guided by his elder brother Su Qian, leading directly to the senior grand scholar. Minister Sun's was meant to drag Wei Yuan into the fray, leaving him no choice but to get involved. The question now was how Wei Yuan would respond and retaliate. At this moment, Censor Zhang Xingying from Yunzhou stepped forward. "Your Majesty, may I speak?" he asked. Emperor Yuanjing's reply was unchanged. He nodded and said, "Proceed. Speak." Zhang Xingying, the emperor commanded. Zhang bowed and began. "Your Majesty, I, Zhang Xingying, formally accuse Minister Sun Min of abusing his authority, forcing confessions through coercion. I humbly request that your Majesty order a joint review by 3 ministries to re-examine the 5 Necessities case." Minister Sun sneered. This case was personally decreed by His Majesty. The Ministry of Justice and the local prefecture were tasked with a joint investigation, providing mutual oversight. Where is this claim of coerced confessions coming from? If there's any doubt, His Majesty can send someone to the prison to confirm. The Emperor nodded slowly. How should we proceed with this case? Zhang Xingying, disappointed, stood silent. He opened his mouth, but found no words. Even Minister Sun's eyes revealed a flicker of disappointment. The Emperor's stance was clear. There was no need for further appeals. Yet he hadn't immediately resolved the case, leaving an opportunity for Wei Yuan and Zhao Tingfang to mount a defense. At that moment, Assistant Censor Yuan Xiong stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I believe the severity of this case cannot be overstated. After days of rumors spreading, the entire capital is aware of it. The scholars are enraged. The commoners are anxious. Only a thorough resolution can pacify the people. The Chief Justice stepped forward and shook his head. Suien, who represents the Office of Celestial Supervision, has rendered invaluable services. He cannot be dealt with so lightly. This was a veiled attack, meant to put Suien in a precarious position. By portraying Suien as arrogant and untouchable, the emperor would have no choice but to act against him, lest he confirm the accusations of arrogance and set a bad precedent. As these words were spoken, the emperor would be compelled to deal with him. If not, it would set a terrible precedent. At this moment, Duke Chao, his expression unreadable, stepped forward and addressed the emperor. The Ministry of Justice and the assistant magistrate, he said, have handled this case far too hastily. Senior Grand Scholar Zhao Tingfang has always had an impeccable reputation. How could he have accepted bribes? Furthermore, though Su Xinyan is merely a student, it's been years since Yunlu Academy. To conclude this case so rashly, how could the great scholars of Yunlu Academy simply accept it? They will not stand idly by. Minister Sun and Assistant Censor Lu Hong slowly staring at Duke Chao in disbelief. What is going on? They wondered. Has Duke Chao switched sides? What was the point of his earlier efforts to fan the flames? The Imperial examination system must be examined. This was originally supported by Duke Chao in the background, pushing things forward. He supported assistant censors would do, and the assistant minister of war to petition for peace talks. But why did he suddenly change sides? While the officials were all guessing, Wei Yuan snapped back to his senses. He glanced unexpectedly at Duke Chao. This detail caught everyone's attention. It made the ministers even more confused. Wei Yuan seemed extremely surprised. Didn't he know? The assistant minister of war couldn't stay silent any longer. He stepped forward, addressing His Majesty. Duke Chao's words are heartless. Think about it. If it's because Su Xinyan is a scholar from Yunlu Academy, how would the people of the National Academy feel about this? What would all scholars across the land think? When Emperor Wanzu established the National Academy, he excluded the scholars of Yunlu Academy from the court positions. Why? It was because the scholars of Yunlu Academy were disrespectful to their rulers. They disrupted the law with their writings. Cheng Yasheng set up a memorial tablet in Yunlu Academy, fighting for justice and dying for it. His merits and loyalty will live on forever. This was to teach future generations how to be loyal to their emperor and love their country. Gentlemen, do you want to see Emperor Wanzu's helplessness repeat itself? Minister Sun's mouth twitched slightly, showing his sharpness. This trick of shifting the concept was brilliantly used. It was like drawing a line on the court. On one side were the scholars from the National Academy, on the other side, the scholars from Yunlu Academy. How would the struggle over orthodoxy be resolved? If any civil official were to speak in favor of Su Xinyan, they would have to consider their own position. They would have to think about whether their words could lead them to break from the court, break from the important ministers. In this case, Wei Yuan had no choice but to step in, because some things are hard for scholars to say, but as the leader of the Yin party, he could. After all, he wasn't a scholar from the Imperial examination system. He dragged Wei Yuan into the mess, defeated him with his great power, forcing him to compromise and retreat from the inspectorate's control. This was assistant censors was recent important strategy. At this moment, a cold, furious voice filled the room. It resounded within the store. Prince Yu shouted, angrily condemning Madame Zhan's hypocrisy. Even 200 years ago, I never heard of Yunlu Academy scholars committing such despicable acts as harming a princess. Is this what you National Academy scholars call loyalty and patriotism? Your Majesty, the truth behind the Imperial examination case is not what the Emperor cares about. The Emperor only feels that the officials and guards are incompetent and weak, incapable and ineffective. If they could handle cases, how could my poor Pingyong have died unjustly? If it weren't for the night watchman and Luo Shuqian thoroughly investigating the case, even now the injustice would remain unavenged. The Imperial examination corruption case is of great significance. I hope His Majesty will re-examine it. Let the three thoughtful officials review it again, together with the night watchman. Emperor Yuanjing furrowed his brows slightly. He waved it away dismissively. Prince Yu immediately began to cry. Your Majesty, my poor Pingyong. Minister Sun and others turned pale. They secretly cursed his shamelessness. The Assistant Minister of War told Emperor Yuanjing, scholars from Yunlu Academy are uncontrollable. And now, Prince Yu is telling Emperor Yuanjing that scholars from the National Academy also harbor intentions of harming their mentors, and they're willing to take action. At this moment, Duke Chao and other noble families expressed their support, hinting at a brewing confrontation with the civil officials. Wang Shoufu observed coldly from the side, but internally he was quite surprised. This confrontation between the nobles and civil officials was not something he had foreseen. Duke Chao and Prince Yu are not on the same side, nor are either of them aligned with Wei Yuan. But the fact that both sides have joined forces is undeniable. Who is pulling the strings behind all of this? If the case is retried, and the night watchman's office intervenes, all the schemes will collapse. It will result in a situation where multiple parties shift the blame. At this moment, Minister Sun furiously gave Wang Zhongwen a look. Big brother, what's going on with you? We're fighting on the front lines, and you're just sitting in the back, not saying a word. Wang Shoufu sighed. and stepped forward to offer his suggestion. Your Majesty, Daoist John has a method to quickly resolve this case. The Grand Scholar of the Eastern Pavilion, Zhao Tingfang, has raised no objections. All it takes is a simple test for Su Xingyan. Your Majesty can summon him to the palace and have Lu Ning personally pose a question for evaluation. He can compose a poem on the spot before the ministers. If that traveling the hard road poem was truly written by someone else, it will be evident. As for the rigorous argumentation and analysis required by the Imperial examination, Your Majesty can review his writings yourself. If he truly lacks talent, it would prove that the accusations were true, and he should be severely punished. Emperor Yuanjing smiled faintly. Well said, loyal subject. We'll proceed as you suggested. Zhang Xingying inwardly thought, this is not good. Wang Shoufu's words seemed neutral at first glance, but the bias was clear. Having the emperor personally test his poetic skills, and requiring Su Xingyan to compose a poem on the spot, this is something only a true literary genius could do. Su Qian would fail this test. Even if he survived the minor tests, he wouldn't pass the major examination. Prince Yu quickly objected, Your Majesty, this plan is far too simplistic. Creating a poetic masterpiece is not something that can be done by just anyone. Zhang Xingying immediately joined in, stepping forward to say, Your Majesty, I also believe this approach is unwise. Assistant Censor Yuan Xiong countered loudly, Prince Yu's objection is baseless. During the imperial examinations, time is equally limited. If this Su candidate can produce one poem, why can't he compose another? If Su Xingyan can produce a masterpiece, it will show his skill in poetry. Having him compose another will allow a clear comparison. Prince Yu's face darkened. He was about to argue further when Emperor Yuanjing waved his hand. Enough. My mind is made up. Prince Yu, there's no need to say more. A moment later, a fully armed palace guard entered the Hall of Golden Orchids. At the same time, Su Xingyan appeared, dressed in ceremonial robes. He slowly walked down the newly laid red carpet, past the gathered ministers, and stopped before Emperor Yuanjing. Su Xingyan showed no fear. What he felt even more was excitement. His hands and feet trembled uncontrollably. This was the legendary Hall of Golden Orchids. This was where the grand ministers attended court. But today, why had he been brought here? Why was he standing in the Hall of Golden Orchids? In a very soft voice, he gave himself a silent reminder. Even if the mountains collapse, my expression must not change. In an instant, second young master Su calmed himself completely. He bowed and greeted with neither humility nor arrogance. Student Su Xingyan greets Your Majesty. Emperor Yuanjing examined the impossibly handsome young man before him and spoke with a faint, cold smile. Tell me, did the Grand Scholar of the Eastern Pavilion accept a bribe? Did Xiatai give you any? Su Xingyan exclaimed, Your Majesty, I have been wronged. Emperor Yuanjing continued calmly, we'll give you a chance. If you wish to prove your innocence, compose a poem here in the Hall of Golden Orchids. I will personally set the topic. Su Xingyan, do you dare? Su Xingyan felt as though he'd been struck by lightning. What is this nonsense? Composing a poem on the spot. I don't have the courage. I never expected that being brought to the Hall of Golden Orchids would lead to a situation like this. Traveling the hard road wasn't even written by me. It was my elder brother's work. Although I changed 2 words, I could thump my chest and claim it as my own. But to write another poem, and to do it spontaneously, that's absolutely impossible. Su Xingyan's heart filled with despair. He even considered and pleading for a more lenient punishment. Su Xingyan's expression and complexion were observed by the senior ministers. Minister Sun's eyes briefly flashed with pity. He sighed silently. It's come to this after all. When Su Qian confessed to using someone else's work, I advised him to seek a lighter sentence, because having someone else write for him was a fatal flaw. Emperor Yuanjing looked down at Su Xingyan from above, his voice grave and low. You don't dare? Su Xingyan swallowed nervously. Steeling himself, he figured either way it was a dead end. Gritting his teeth, he said, Your Majesty, please provide the topic. Emperor Yuanjing smiled and casually said, Martyrdom for loyalty and patriotism. Compose a poem on loyalty to the ruler and love for the country. You have the time it takes for 1 incense stick to burn. Hearing the emperor's topic, Minister Sun and others couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. Throughout history, most celebrated poems on loyalty and patriotism were composed during times of national crisis. In peaceful eras, very few families or poets would use this as a theme. It was an exceedingly difficult topic. Su Xingyan stood frozen, paralyzed in place. Loyalty and patriotism as the topic. Back then, when his older brother drew lots, 2 topics came up. One was eternal will, and the other was patriotism. The eternal will poem had already proven useful during the spring helping him become an imperial scholar. At this thought, the younger brother almost couldn't suppress a laugh. He never would have guessed that Emperor Yuanjing's chosen topic would be a poem about loyalty to the ruler and love for the country. Could it be that His Majesty and my older brother have colluded in secret? Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence? Seeing Su Xingyan standing motionless, Prince Yu silently cursed. Not good. He was about to step forward to help defuse the situation, when the Assistant Minister of War stepped forward and cut him off. Prince Yu, don't worry. There's limited time for one incense stick to burn. Don't interrupt Su's composition. The ministers are all waiting. At this moment, Su Xingyan spoke up loudly. I don't need the time of one incense stick. Your Majesty, thank you for graciously giving me the opportunity. My elder brother, Su Qian, is the great scholar of Defeng. Composing poems comes as naturally to him as breathing. I cannot bring shame to him. The ministers and Emperor Yuanjing were all taken aback. They couldn't understand his sudden burst of confidence. And then, Su Xingyan's steady, measured voice resounded through the hall. Dark clouds hang over the city. The golden palace shines as the sun rises over Nanjing. A simple line. He painted an image in everyone's mind. A vivid depiction of the battlefield. The enemy surged forward like rolling black clouds, pressing down from above. The soldiers' armor atop the city walls gleamed in the sunlight, ready for battle. Su Xingyan continued his recitation. Trumpets sound under autumn skies. On the frontier, rouge leaves freeze. The gathered nobles were astonished. How was it that this scholar, who had never been to the battlefield, could describe it so vividly, so movingly? Su's voice dropped, becoming deeper. Half-rolled red flags, frost-laden waters, drums stilled in the cold. The Minister of Justice remarked solemnly, that may be a fine poem. But what does it have to do with loyalty to the ruler? You write of war and battle, but where is the loyalty? If not a charlatan, then what is he? Qin Yuan loudly agreed. Indeed, Su Xingyan has no talent for poetry. Your Majesty, please punish him. Su Xingyan ignored these words. Instead, he looked directly at Emperor Yuanjing. In a loud, clear voice he continued. On the golden terrace the tyrant stands, guiding dragons to serve the ruler unto death. Emperor Yuanjing's face lit up with delight. What a splendid poem. You truly are a talented scholar, worthy of your position. It seems the hard road to travel was indeed your creation. Wang Jinwen took a sharp breath. In his heart, he had to admit that Su Xingyan's poem was well done. Minister Sun had a shocked expression, as if he'd just eaten something unexpected. In such a short time, to compose a poem on the spot for the emperor's topic, could he truly have such great talent? Zhang Xingying almost burst out laughing. Judging by the emperor's reaction, the charges in the case were completely dismissed. Su Xingyan was saved. At that moment, Emperor Yuanjing asked, Su Xingyan, what is the meaning of the Golden Terrace poem? Su Xingyan respectfully explained that it meant serving the emperor with loyalty, dying for his majesty if necessary. Not only would he give up a golden terrace, but he'd even give away a jade one. Emperor Yuanjing nodded slowly, his smile growing deeper. Very well. The court has always been fair in rewarding merit and punishing faults. I am the same. Su, you are indeed a talented scholar. The hard road poem must be. As for your essay and policy argument, I will personally review them during the Imperial examination. Don't let me down. As long as you make it into the second tier, I can promise to admit you into the Hanlin Academy as an editor. All the officials in the hall turned to look at Su Xingyan. The Hanlin Academy, also known as the Chu Lane Institution, might not be the top tier, but it qualified one for the cabinet. It was among the most prestigious positions in the court. Su Xingyan felt a wave of relief. He suppressed his excitement and said, Thank you, Your Majesty. Emperor Yuanjing nodded, slowly rose, and declared the court adjourned. Thus, the Imperial examination corruption case was almost settled. Unless Su Xingyan performed terribly during the Imperial examination, an unlikely scenario, as a scholar of Yunlu Academy, he had proven himself among the finest. More importantly, it seemed the emperor greatly valued him, and that was the most crucial factor. The minister's expressions were peculiar. No one expected the case to end this way. Minister Sun's face darkened. A complete failure. Once the Imperial examination concludes, the corruption case will be over. People will likely seize the opportunity to criticize me, accusing me of abuse of power, of framing the 6 departments, and of harming other third-rank officials. There was a wave of disappointment and discontent among the ministers, and this dissatisfaction peaked when Emperor Yuanjing promised to admit Su Xingyan to the Hanlin Academy. A mere Yunlu Academy student, how was he qualified for the Hanlin Academy? In its 200-year history, this had never happened before. Inside and outside the court, officials dispersed with complex emotions. As they crossed the grand square, they saw a lone figure standing at the gates, facing the noon gate, facing the officials. The ministers noticed this man deliberately blocking their path. They recognized him immediately. Everyone in the imperial court knew who he was. What was he planning? This unrefined soldier was clearly basking in pride, strutting arrogantly. What nerve, for a mere warrior to block our way. Su Qian stood alone with a single blade at the noon gate, blocking all the officials. He met their gazes steadily, then suddenly sneered. He raised his voice, and Chao's virtue, yet rivers flow forever. It was a taunt. Inside and outside the noon gate fell silent. Hundreds of officials stood as if struck dumb. That mocking line rang in their ears. Only scholars truly understood its biting sarcasm, how sharp it was. It was a remark meant to pierce the heart. No scholar could tolerate the insult of that verse. In that moment, hundreds of officials felt their blood rush to their faces. Reckless and crude, such an unrefined brute. How dare he insult us, the dignitaries of the court? This is intolerable. Quickly, dispatch troops and behead. Deputy Minister P.21 stormed forward, shouting, "Guards! Where are the guards? Stop that scoundrel at once. How dare he disgrace the Grand Ministers? Halt him immediately." The Imperial guards scoffed disdainfully. They only obeyed Emperor Yuanjing's orders. Not even the princess or princes had command over them. What made a mere civilian think he could give them orders? Minister Wang glanced at Wei Yuan, his lips twitching. With a sarcastic tone, he said, "Lord Wei, is this your capable protege?" Wei Yuan appeared to snap back to reality and replied calmly, "What is everyone getting so worked up about?" As if they were all eager to take the blame. The ministers felt as if Wei Yuan's casual words had turned the tables on them. At that moment, a young Hanlin scholar asked, "Then how should today's events be recorded in history?" Before his words even finished, Minister Wang turned his head and gave him a long look, as if to say, "Have you read yourself into idiocy?" The Hanlin scholar shrank back and muttered, "I understand now. Such minor matters don't deserve a place in the history books." Wei Yuan was the first to leave the palace. Once he got into his carriage, he couldn't hide the smile at the corners of his mouth. He chuckled gleefully, his mood bright as he recounted the events at the noon gate to his driver, Nangong Qian. A shadowy figure seated nearby murmured, "Foster father, weren't you also among the ministers at the time?" Wei Yuan's smile immediately stiffened. Gradually, his expression darkened, then shifted to anger. Meanwhile, in the Imperial sleeping quarters, Emperor Yuanjing silently listened to the old eunuch's report. He was fully informed about everything that had happened at the noon gate. With a cold smirk, he said, "Impressive courage, and Chao's virtue perished with the light. Yet rivers flow forever. Excellent poem. Our great scholar of Defeng truly deserves the title. Proclaim my decree. I want the Hanlin Academy to record this event in the annals of history. I shall personally review it." The old eunuch acknowledged the order and withdrew. This was His Majesty's revenge on those pedantic Hanlin scholars. At lunchtime, Chu Yuanshan heard from old friends about what had happened in the court, including how Su Ningyan single-handedly faced the ministers with a poem that mocked them. Chu Yuanshan felt his blood surge with excitement, downing 3 cups on the spot. Who would have thought the deadlock would be broken this way? It's clever to use the nobles against the civil officials, but such a maneuver is incredibly difficult to pull off. How did Su Ningyan and number 3 manage it? Those 2 brothers, Su Ningyan and number 3, are both exceptional in their poetic talent. I've long wanted to curse those incompetent guards in verse myself, but poetry isn't my strong suit. Su Ningyan truly lives up to his reputation. What biting words. Meanwhile, at the Wang estate, Wang Simu, who had been following the case closely, gathered information through her own channels. She learned about the heated debate in court and the mocking poem at the noon gate. I knew Su Huizhi was exceptionally talented. How could he possibly fail in the Imperial examination? And his cousin Su Ningyan is even more impressive. For him to speak on his behalf, to have the court nobles stand for him, that level of connection is extraordinary. What surprises me the most is that Wei Yuan didn't intervene. From start to finish, he remained on the sidelines. This way, Su Huizhi won't be branded as part of the Yin faction, and that will benefit him greatly in the long run. At that thought, Miss Wang smiled sweetly. This is good for me as well. Wang Simu said, "Go back to the Su residence and ask to see Su Huizhi again, but that would make me seem too eager, like I'm trying to claim credit." After some thought, she dismissed the idea. At this time, remaining silent would better demonstrate her composure and dignity. If she rushed to take credit, it might diminish her stature in the eyes of the Su family matriarch. Wise individuals knew not to make things too obvious. A tacit understanding often worked best. Over at the Tianjin sect, as Yang Qianhuan passed the 7th floor alchemy chamber, he overheard his junior brothers discussing what had happened in court that morning. Normally, he had no interest in court affairs and wouldn't have stopped to listen, but when he heard the name Su Ningyan, Yang's instincts told him this might be another chance to gain some knowledge. A robed sorcerer, staring at the back of Yang's head, grumbled, "Yang Shixiang, you always startle people like that." Yang Qianhuan asked, "What did Su Ningyan do this time?" One man, standing at the noon gate, holding off the entire court, becoming the first great mocker of all time, the sorcerer replied. Hearing this, Yang was stunned. Images of Su Qian standing alone at the noon gate, confronting the ministers in all his splendor, flashed through Yang's mind. Just the thought of it sent a shiver through his body. He couldn't help but stand up, feeling electricity run through him. Why? Why did Su Ningyan always manage to do such extraordinary things, one great feat after another? individually holding off 400 rebels in Yunzhou, debating with the Buddhist faction under the eyes of all. It was just too unfair. When is the next court meeting? I must go to the noon gate. I have to go. After dusk, the Su family dinner table was filled with a joyful atmosphere. Aunt enthusiastically served Su Xinyan food, while also serving Su Qian, as if both were her own sons. Su Lingyue enjoyed this familial warmth, and admired her elder brother even more, her lively gaze fixed on Su Qian. Second Uncle Su was moved to tears, grateful that the whole family could dine together again. Meanwhile, Su Erlang ate without a care, letting his scholarly pride keep him from getting too caught up in the mood, because he was afraid he might cry. At that moment, Lena swallowed her food, adopting a rare serious tone, as she looked at Su Qian and second Uncle Su. I have something to say, she began. I want to take Lining as my apprentice. A loud pft sound rang out. Su Qian spat out his food in surprise. Second Uncle Su frowned and asked, my daughter has no talent. Her physique isn't right either. She's just a stubborn child. What can you teach her as your apprentice? Su Qian also shook his head, adding, Lining truly doesn't have a knack for martial arts. Otherwise, I'd have introduced her to it long ago. Lena countered, but she can eat. Haven't you noticed she's a genius in that regard? Su Xinyan looked helplessly at the little one who was still scrambling for food. At her age, she was indeed extraordinary. Given how much Lining eats, any other child would have been overwhelmed long ago, but she was still full of energy. Lena waved her hand and clarified, I don't mean to teach her to eat. I want to teach her the ancient arts. Su Qian asked thoughtfully, are you saying she's a prodigy in those arts? Lena nodded. Specifically, she's a genius for the Li Gu arts. Lining has a strong build, abundant energy, and vigorous vitality, the kind of talent we haven't seen in our Li Gu tribe for decades. In our tribe, the path to cultivation begins early. During the early years, it resides within the host's ribs. The bone absorbs the host's essence and energy. If a child's physique isn't strong enough, they'll become very weak. And because the rib is bound to the host's life force, it won't harm the host, but it will weaken alongside them. This could result in congenital weakness, but that won't happen to him. He will provide an excellent foundation for the rib. From a young age, he'll build a solid base. Moreover, Lining has strong bones and great strength. Even without training his mind, his strength surpasses his peers. With proper cultivation, he will soar to great heights. Shen Shengwen still seemed a bit uneasy. After all, this ancient art was just a distant legend to them only months ago. Aunt pondered for a while, and tentatively asked, will he become as big an eater as you? Lena quickly waved her hand and said, no, he won't. Aunt let out a sigh of relief. But then the little imp added modestly, he'll be able to eat even more than me. Without a second thought, Aunt declared, I disagree. Husband, what about you? Su Pingji looked to his sons and nephew for their opinions. What do you two think? Su Qian said, well, if he's not cut out for studying, and not suited for martial arts, we might as well give it a try. Aunt shot him a glare. Su Ningyan, how can you say that? Lining is still your sister, isn't she? Su Erlang muttered quietly, Mother, big brother isn't wrong. Caught off guard by her younger son's words, Aunt had no chance to react. Su Qian said, taking her as an apprentice is fine, but I have one question for you. How long does it take to complete Li Gu training? Without hesitation, Lena replied, it depends on talent. The shortest is 5 years. The longest is 20 years. Su Qian continued, can Miss Lena stay in the capital for 5 or 20 years? Lena laughed. As long as you feed me, I'll stay as long as you like. Aunt immediately jumped in to object. No way. The little rascal looked aggrieved, muttering, it's just a few bowls of rice from your family. Why be so stingy? Finally, the head of the family, Su Pingji, made the decision. Fine, Lena. I'll leave it to you to teach the little girl. Su Qian gave him a puzzled look. Is she really going to stay in the capital for 5, maybe 20 years? Wouldn't the tuition fees be too expensive? Su Pingji chuckled. Lining is just a girl. She's not trying to become the world's top martial artist. If she can learn something, great. If not, it's no big deal. You two always have such high ambitions, always aiming to be the best. Su Xinyan and Su, feeling that second uncle had a point, Lena looked at the little one. If you come back to Nanjiang with me, she said, my father will definitely take you as a director. In 10 years, you'll be able to lift a mountain. Su Qian imagined the scene. A grown-up Lining, 10 years later, carrying a huge mountain with each step shaking the earth. She would happily say, Auntie, I'm back. I've brought a mountain as a gift. Su Qian shivered at the thought. A young woman in the Su family, strong enough to move mountains, a hero of legendary strength. As dusk fell, the sky darkened to a murky yellow. An orange cat walked gracefully through the quiet, empty streets. Arriving outside the Sun family's gate, the orange cat then pulled out a small jade mirror, which floated in the air. With a smooth flash of its surface, a young man, unconscious, tumbled out. Afterwards, the orange cat returned the jade mirror to its place, and with its tail raised, hurried away. A quarter hour later, An old gatekeeper, yawning, opened the door. Seeing the well-dressed young man lying on the ground, he jumped in fright. After recognizing the youth, he ran into the manor in excitement. Soon, Minister Sun hurried over, only to see his son unconscious at the gate. His heart sank in an instant. Standing by the bedside, the old steward said, "Master, the young master is just unconscious. He's not seriously hurt." Minister Sun raised his eyebrows. "What do you mean by not seriously hurt?" The steward lowered his head and replied, "The young master was whipped, his back lashed dozens of times. Fortunately, they're only surface injuries. With some medicine, he'll be fine." Minister Sun's face darkened. Ridiculous. How disgraceful. But then, as if remembering something, his boiling anger suddenly cooled. It seemed Suien had taken a beating as well. After a moment of silence, Minister Sun said, "It's good to have them back safely. That's what matters." The next day, at the tea house of Haochi Tower, Wei Yuan spoke gently. "Tell me about your thought process in solving this case." Suien sipped his tea and replied calmly, "The crown prince has long since lost his ambitions for fame and power, so he was willing to repay a favor. If he were still the ambitious prince of old, he probably wouldn't have agreed so easily. As for Duke Chao, he and the Northern King's deputy general conspired to undermine my unbreakable defense. I remember Wei Gong once said, court politics is a battle of interests. One must learn to compromise. So I agreed to his terms." Wei Yuan gazed at the scenery. "Well done. You have insight, but your temperament remains unyielding, unsuited for the court." Suien replied humbly, "My goal is simply to benefit the public." Wei Yuan smiled and said, "The 5 scholars examination case. You ran yourself ragged, rarely staying in the office. You've worked hard." Suien took a sip of tea and responded, "But I've learned a lot." Wei Yuan chuckled. "Keep absorbing the lessons. But remember, I warned you." Su Baipa paused, feeling a sense of foreboding. Despite the pleasant tone, Wei Yuan hadn't turned around. "So you're saying I won't get this month's stipend?" Suien froze in disbelief, staring blankly at Wei Yuan's back. "But Wei Gong, my stipend was gone long ago." Wei Yuan paused. "Was it? Then you'll lose next month's too." Suien was utterly dumbfounded. Did I upset him somehow? He wondered. Smartly, Su Baipa didn't linger on the topic. "By the way, Wei Gong, why is the deputy general of the Northern King back in the capital?" Wei Yuan answered, "The northern situation is tense, and they're short on supplies. He's back to request silver." Suien asked, "What kind of person is the Northern King?" Wei Yuan's tone grew heavier. "A domineering one." Suien made his judgment silently. Domineering people are often unreasonable, and his royal status allows him to flout rules to some extent. Not long after, Suien took his leave from Wei Yuan, heading straight to Prince Huai's mansion. The favor from Prince Yu is spent. Luckily, he's no longer interested in fame and power. Otherwise, he wouldn't have backed me up. As for Duke Chao, I haven't yet delivered the promised benefits. Given the combined influence of the Duke and the Northern King's deputy general, if I go back on my word, it would only backfire. The Northern King likely doesn't know that his deputy general and Duke Chao conspired on this. But even if he did find out, he wouldn't blame his deputy general for the actions of a minor official like me. So the promised benefits still need to be delivered. But how I deliver them, there's room to negotiate. I could even write the 9 manual backward. At the King Huai Manor, a fully armored Chu Xianglong stood upright with a blade at his waist, his sharp eyes fixed on consort Chen Shang. He said, "I've heard from the manor's guards that you've disappeared twice without reason. How did you hide it from the guards? And how did you conceal it from the palace's sword master? Who did you meet? And what happened?" The veiled woman furrowed her brows, her voice cold. "Are you questioning me?" Chu Xianglong lowered his head and calmly replied, "I dare not. I'm only here on a mission from His Majesty to secure supplies and escort you north to meet the prince. Please prepare yourself. I'll be staying here at the manor for now. If you wish to leave, I'll accompany you at all times." The veiled woman remained silent, but her eyes betrayed her displeasure. At that moment, a guard entered and cupped his hands. "General Chu, in Luo Suien requests an audience." Chu Xianglong glanced at the consort, then clasped his hands and stepped out of the hall. The veiled woman's gaze shifted sharply. "Suien? What's he doing at the manor?" In the reception hall, Suien sat in a chair, holding a cup of tea. Calmly, he said, "My thanks to General Chu and Lord Chao for their help." Chu Xianglong stepped inside. Without hesitation, his eyes fell on the cloth bag at Suchien's feet. "What is it?" Suien put down the teacup, opened the bag, and revealed a stone-carved Buddha statue. The carving was crude, worse than a novice's work. Chu Xianglong's eyes lit up with excitement, fixing on the statue. Despite its rough form, its indistinct features, it exuded a faint, extraordinary aura. Suien said, "The essence of the Diamond Sutra is engraved in this statue. Whether or not you can master it is up to you, General." Chu Xianglong looked at the Buddha statue with satisfaction. "You certainly are a man of your word." Suien chuckled inwardly. "Sure, if I lacked credibility, you'd say something like, How dare a lowly Inluo betray his word? Even Wei Yuan couldn't protect you. Keeping a straight face, he said. Actually, this technique was free to begin with. If you're interested, General, I'll sell it to you for 500 taels of silver. No need for so much trouble. Chu Xianglong's face showed a mix of amusement and disdain. I don't think something I can get with a little trickery is worth 500 taels. Of course, the Buddha's golden body is priceless. Farewell, Suien Luo. Suien showed no anger, thinking to himself, "Ah, so I'm not worth your money." He turned and left, not forgetting to toss out a final remark. Green mountains don't change, rivers flow on. Just as he reached the courtyard, he saw a disciple hurrying over. Are you Suien Luo? Suien nodded. That's me. The disciple calmly said, my lady wishes to see you. Suchien's heart leapt. Lady North Prince wants to see me? The most beautiful woman in Defeng wants to see me? I can handle that. It's just a meeting. The disciple led Suien through winding corridors, gardens, and courtyards, walking for a quarter of an hour before arriving at their destination. A pavilion draped on all sides, where a graceful figure sat on a chair, holding a book. From inside came the voice of a mature woman, cold yet magnetic. So you are Suien. Suien couldn't see her face clearly, but her voice was pleasing to the ear. He cupped his hands. What does the lady wish of me? The woman in the pavilion let out a cold huff. I heard that at the Wu Gate, you stood alone against 1,000,000 soldiers. Is that true? Suien smiled and replied, youthful recklessness. A momentary impulse. I'm embarrassed truly. The woman in the pavilion rolled her eyes subtly. Yeah, right. Like you'd ever be embarrassed. She said flatly, see the guest out. Suien looked confused. That's it, but he could only follow the maid out. Just then, something heavy struck Suchien's back. He looked down and saw it was gold. He realized there had been no warning of danger, meaning it wasn't an attack, but he was a bit angry. Why did she throw gold at me? The woman in the pavilion ignored him, humming indifferently. Suien was puzzled, but since she offered no explanation, he simply picked up the gold and pocketed it without hesitation. With a wry remark, he said, next time you want to hit me, please use gold bricks. Then he followed the disciple away. Meanwhile, in a quiet bedroom, Chu Xianglong closed the doors and windows tightly. He placed the stone Buddha on the table and stared at it intently for a long time. He could feel a subtle aura of ancient Buddha, inexplicable and profound, but no matter how hard he tried to comprehend it, he could not derive the technique. The Diamond Sutra, as expected, required certain conditions, a foundation in Buddhism. For Suien to achieve such mastery, he must have some innate talent. Still, no matter how skilled he was merely a minor figure without real roots. A bit of trickery was all it took to manipulate him. Thinking this, Chu Xianglong sneered coldly, both proud and contemptuous. What a so-called martial genius, comparable to the North Prince's talent? Without secret assistance from treacherous forces, what gives him the right to challenge the Buddhist arhats? Among the rumors in the capital lauding Suien, what Chu Xianglong detested most was comparing him to the prince, a mere quick-handed enchanter, a lowly military household-born nobody. How dare he? Aside from the Diamond Sutra, there was little else of value to squeeze out of him. If not for the martial examination case, he would have been completely wrung dry in one go. Chu Xianglong took out a palm-sized bronze talisman and wore it around his neck. It had been a gift from a monk traveler he once appeased in his early years. Though he was not a Buddhist disciple, this talisman possessed mysterious powers. It could help him enter a meditative state. Perhaps he could use it to comprehend the mysteries of the Diamond Sutra. If he mastered the sutra, his combat prowess would rise significantly. Crucially, his enhanced physical body would improve his battlefield survival. Moreover, if he could achieve this feat with the bronze talisman, it would prove that the prince could as well. When that happened, his reward would be great. Thinking of this, Chu Xianglong's eyes burned with zeal. He couldn't wait to meditate on the statue. He took a deep breath and spent a moment calming himself, stilling his mind completely. Then he held the bronze talisman and began to meditate. Gradually, he sensed a vast, gentle energy. His mind grew clearer, free of emotional and distracting thoughts. In this state, he instinctively began imitating the posture of the statue, mimicking its unique breathing pattern. A light glowed at his brow, spreading across half his body. Chu Xianglong looked at his golden-lit arm and was overjoyed. He had succeeded, but at that very moment, something within him shifted. It felt as if a volcano had erupted inside him. A surge rushed through his meridians and dantian. With a puff, Chu Xianglong spat out blood. His dantian was shattered by the violent energy. He was seriously injured. How could this happen? Even the bronze talisman didn't help? The thought crossed his mind, and then his eyes rolled back as he fainted. Half an hour later, the North Prince's consort, upon hearing the report from the guards, concealed her delight and asked, deviation during practice? How could he have gone into deviation like that? Is he dead? The guard shook his head. Lord Chu is still alive, but he is gravely injured. The swordsmen of the 4 divisions say, he'll need a month of bed rest to recover. What's more, they discovered the problem too late. The energy flow reversed. His meridians are all severed. He may suffer lasting damage. I also heard it may be connected to the Buddha statue delivered by Suien Luo. The North Prince's consort was taken aback. It's related to him? That brat actually did something truly satisfying for once. Just 100 li away from the capital, on a rugged mountain path, a robed woman named Li Miaotian, her hair tied back, carried a long sword gifted by her sect and walked slowly. Su, eyes brimming with anticipation, said, just 80 more li to the capital. Master, let's stay in the capital for a while, shall we? Li Miaotian retorted with a steely tone. The 4 divisions don't know me well. Without Su Qian's favor, Song Qing would never pay you any mind. Su's eyes shifted cunningly. Then I'll just say, I'm Su Qian's intended wife. Li Miaotian sneered, oh, please. If you do that, I might just send you off on the spot, and you can keep him company in the afterlife. Su fumed, then I won't go. I'll return to Tianzong. I'll go back to Tianzong. Just then, Li Miaotian sniffed the air. Her expression turned serious. I smell blood. She looked around briefly, her eyes fixed on the brush ahead. Master and servant pushed through the grass, searching. They found a corpse amidst the tangled weeds. It wore white ceremonial robes, its head missing. The neck wound had long since dried, blackened. The body had been dead at least 2 hours, perhaps longer. Su sensed an overwhelming resentment. She said, it must have been a vendetta killing. The resentment lingers still. Let's bury him, so he doesn't become a wandering ghost, and transform into a vengeful spirit in 7 days. This lingering resentment could indeed turn him into a spirit after 7 days. Such spirits never last long. A few hours at most, a few days at best, before dispersing. But this mountain path wasn't deserted. If travelers passed by before the spirit faded, they might be attacked by it. At best, falling gravely ill. At worst, losing their lives. Li Miaotian muttered. Resentment this deep? Something major must have happened to him in life, to leave him so unwilling to let go. I'll try summoning his spirit, to see what happened. Su bounced on her feet. You're kidding, right? You're the holy maiden of Tianzong, not a knight-errant. You're supposed to rise above emotions. Life and death, love and hate, should all be fleeting clouds to you. You should forget your emotions to perfect yourself. Be unmoved by feelings, undisturbed by attachments. Let's just bury him. Why stir up more trouble? Li Miaotian took out a fine brush, radiating a unique aura. Shut up, she snapped. Do you need to lecture me about Tianzong's teachings? Sure, we strive to forget emotions, but how can you forget something when you don't even know what it is? It's not something you can simply decide to forget. With that, she began inscribing strange, subdued patterns into the earth, chanting softly. As the formation took shape, a cold wind stirred the surroundings. The sun seemed to lose its heat. When the final stroke was complete, the wind carried scattered fragments of spirits, converging into a faint, insubstantial figure. Li Miaotian looked at the incomplete figure, asked, who are you? The ghost is nourished by the Yin energy. Its previously blank expression changes. Could it be that the Blood Disciples' march spans 3,000 miles? The Blood Disciples' march spans 3,000 miles. I request the court dispatch troops to suppress them. Li Miaotian's expression becomes deadly serious. Who are you? What do you mean by the Blood Disciples' march spans 3,000 miles? But the remnant spirit keeps repeating those lines. Not another word could be coaxed out. Su realizes the gravity of the situation. What should we do with him? She asks. Li Miaotian sighs. His soul is incomplete. To learn what he wants to say, we need to nurture his soul. But nurturing a soul takes a long time. We can't count on immediate results. If we can uncover his identity, maybe we'll learn more about the inside story and understand what he's trying to say. Su nods obediently. Master, that makes sense. But how should we investigate? Li Miaotian ponders silently. I don't know either, she says. She tries to follow Su Qian's approach, to unravel the mystery of this corpse. But she fails. If that young man were still alive, Su murmurs, he'd surely have a way. Li Miaotian nods without expression. You're thinking of him too. He's the best problem solver I've ever seen. Forget it. For now, let's bring the corpse back to the capital and hand it to the authorities. This person was murdered in a desolate mountain near the capital. 8 towns have suffered violent robberies. Li Miaotian takes out a sachet. She summons a flying sword. The sword glints with a sharp whoosh. It cuts through the air. A quarter hour later, they see the towering outline of the capital. They see villages and towns surrounding the city. Su excitedly says, Master, this is my first time coming to the capital. They say it's the crown jewel of the empire, the most prosperous city on land. Master and servant exchange a smile and enter the city. After passing through the gates, Li Miaotian heads to the city wall's bulletin board, reminding herself not to forget her duties. Combining your life and the ghost's existence. It's nearly 40 years in total. After saying this, she instinctively glanced at the bulletin board. Li Miaotian's body suddenly stiffened, her eyes slowly widening, fixing on a particular notice on the wall, her face showing disbelief. Susu rarely saw her master react like this. She looked at the notice alongside Li Miaojin. Moments later, her own eyes widened, because the most prominent notice on the bulletin board was about Su Qian's epic confrontation with the Buddhist sect. The afternoon sunlight felt unusually hot. Su Qian was patrolling the streets with his subordinate gongs. Recently, Wei Yuan had adopted his proposal, and based on that, formed a temporary team of freelancers from the martial world to maintain law and order in the capital. The government offered them generous pay and benefits. This policy fundamentally improved the security situation. Why had thefts and robberies been so common? Because most martial world freelancers were drifters, lacking steady income. With the high cost of living in the capital, how could they survive without stealing or robbing? By giving them legitimate work, they became the ones maintaining order, using their former weapons as shields of justice. After the initial crackdown, these martial world freelancers became more disciplined. So Su Qian planned to visit a brothel to hear some songs. When basic needs are met, humans seek higher pleasures. That meant spiritual fulfillment. In this world without computers, there were no video games to play, no movies to watch. The only entertainment was theatrical performances and songs at the brothel. Suddenly, a familiar feeling of heart palpitations struck Su Qian. He turned away to hide it from his gongs, pulled out a fragment of the Earth Book and saw. It was a message from Li Miaojin. Su Qian is not dead yet. Why didn't anyone tell me Su Qian is still alive? Why didn't any of you tell me? Chu Yuan raised the question via transmission. Didn't you know Su Qian was still alive? The first respondent explained. After the Yunzhou case, he's been constantly on the move. It's understandable that he wouldn't know Su Qian had come back to life. However, as news of the duel spread, it was only a matter of time before he found out. He said, given the deep bond he formed with Su Qian in Yunzhou, it's not surprising he's this excited. Su Qian's heart sank. Why do I feel like he's gloating? A voice far away inquired. Why isn't number 2 speaking? At this moment, Taoist Jinlian transmitted a message. Li Miaojin has arrived in the capital. After that, there were no further transmissions. On the street, Li Miaojin stood trembling, clutching a piece of the Earth Book. Her fingers shook as she typed out a message. Su Qian, you bastard. How much longer are you going to deceive us? Her message seemed to be blocked. No matter how she tried. At this moment, Li Miaojin received a transmission from Taoist Jinlian. Miaojin, they don't know Su Qian's true identity. As for how he came back to life, that's a long story. I'll give you an address. Come find me there. Su Qian received a transmission from Taoist Jinlian at the same time. Li Miaojin has entered. Do you want to meet her? I've blocked her for now, so she can't say too much. But it was bound to happen eventually. Su Qian raised his eyebrows. I'll meet her, he replied with a smile. Taoist Jinlian gave him an address. Come to my place. Su Qian put away the Earth Book fragment, tossed a few silver coins, and said, I still need to deal with something. Once you're done drinking, keep patrolling the streets. Outside a small courtyard in the outer city, Li Miaojin, dressed in Taoist robes, gently knocked on the door. Moments later, the door opened on its own. A calm voice from within invited, come in. His hair was streaked with gray. Strands of hair fell loosely, maintaining his usual disheveled, casual look. Very well. It's no wonder you're one of the most talented disciples of the heavenly sect. You've already stepped into the Yuan Ing realm, Li Miaojin said. Chu Yuan Zhan's swordsmanship is exceptional. If I don't reach the 4th level, I probably won't be able to defeat him. Taoist Jinlian inquired. I recall that your senior brother was already an imperfect product. Is there still no word on his whereabouts? Li Miaojin replied indifferently. Who knows? Maybe he fell victim to a woman's revenge, or perhaps an old flame locked him away as her forbidden love. I don't care about his affairs. Taoist Jinlian sighed and said, to be honest, I don't want to see you and Chu Yuanzhan fight to the death, or even face off against each other. Li Miaojin responded calmly. This is the fate of the Taoist sections. The heavenly and human sects have been at odds for countless years without a winner. Now that Master Jin has reached the top level, we can finally put an end to this doctrinal dispute. Taoist Jinlian gave a wry smile, and did not continue the topic. Li Miaojin took a deep breath, gritting her teeth as she asked, what's going on with Su Qian? Taoist Jinlian gave a brief explanation. He didn't die. That day, he took the Heavenly Sword's transformation pill. It was just a feigned death. Su asked in confusion. But why keep it a secret from us? Taoist Jinlian smiled as he glanced at the courtyard gate. Why don't you ask him yourself? At that moment, Su Qian walked into the courtyard. Old Li Miaojin, he said with an awkward but polite smile. Long time no see. Generally, why the change of attire? Su, have you decided yet? Do you want to be my concubine? Su snorted, turning her face away in disdain. Li Miaojin remained expressionless, but her eyes showed a complex mix of emotions. He calmly stated, I'm a disciple of the heavenly sect. The rivalry between the heavenly and human sects naturally calls for this appearance. With that, the conversation took a sharp turn. Chun Shang threatened, I'm going to reveal that you're number 3 to all the Earth Book fragment holders. Su Qian smiled calmly, unaffected. If General Li wants to do that, I can't stop you. But coincidentally, there are many things I haven't shared with them either, like what happened in Yunzhou, or how General Li claims to be a genius detective, he added, not to mention the more personal details of General Li's younger days. Suppressing her embarrassment, Li Miaojin coldly said, I don't mind teaching you a lesson before the big fight between our sections. With that, she glanced at Taoist Jinlian out of the corner of her eye, noting that he didn't seem inclined to intervene. Internally, she huffed. It seemed even Taoist Jinlian thought Su Qian deserved to be taught a lesson. With that thought, Li Miaojin saw the young man, without looking back, reach out and grab the flying sword. As soon as Su Qian's hand touched it, his palm was covered in a brilliant golden light. Then came a sharp ding. As if two minds had collided, Li Miaojin's beautiful eyes widened, staring at Su Qian's arm in disbelief. She muttered in astonishment, Buddhist golden body. Su Qian grinned. That's right. The diamond technique gained from dueling a master. Generally, your flying sword feels a bit soft. You might want to add some force. Su chimed in immediately. Master, he's looking down on you. Su Qian chuckled. Just what I was hoping for. To experience a Taoist flying sword, Li Miaojin no longer held back. She attempted to manipulate the sword to break free of Su Qian's grip, but the sword only buzzed and vibrated, failing to escape his palm. The heavenly sect saintess grew serious. Forming a hand seal, she changed the sword's approach from pushing to inching forward. Finally, Taoist Jinlian called out, Enough! That's enough! Enough! Stop! But all that could be heard was a loud boom. The roof was blasted apart by the surging energy. Broken beams and tiles came crashing down, and the doors and windows shattered in an instant. Taoist Jinlian stood there stunned. He looked at the charred house with a pained expression. At that moment, Su Qian and Li Miaojin exchanged a glance. One stepped back, the other retracted their hand. Li Miaojin looked at Su Qian with a complicated expression. She felt a sense of helplessness, as though her talent was insufficient. When they met in Yunzhou, he was merely an 8th-grade martial artist attempting to reach the spirit refinement realm, yet in just a few months, his cultivation had progressed so far. Taoist Jinlian coughed lightly. Using your flying sword against his body is like using short bows against a longbow. It's just a small Spartan, take it seriously. Li Miaojin was a 4th-grade master, and her sect's true techniques hadn't even been displayed yet. Her sword techniques could deal with a 6th-grade copper-skin ironbones practitioner, but they were insufficient against the Buddhist Vajra. Taoist Jinlian glanced at Su Qian, a thought flashing through his mind. Why had this young man's Vajra techniques improved so rapidly? Su Qian said humbly, in a real fight, I'm no match for you. But if you want to break through my indestructible Vajra, you'll have to put in some effort. Then he added silently to himself, the true benefit of the scriptures left by the monk was that they greatly accelerated my Vajra cultivation speed. Since the scriptures themselves were written by a Vajra master, my bloodline perfectly complements Vajra techniques. Whenever I train, I can absorb essence blood and elevate my Vajra realm. In 7 days at most, I'll have absorbed all the essence blood from the scriptures. By then, my Vajra techniques will have reached the minor achievement stage. Li Miaojin snorted and turned away. Meanwhile, Su Qian's warning made her hesitant. Revealing Su Qian's identity would mean that all his actions in Yunzhou would later be exposed to the Heaven and Earth Society. This kind of approach, harming both herself and others, was not in line with her identity as the heavenly sect saintess. She understood now why Su Qian insisted on hiding his identity. His boasting back then had far exceeded her own. If it got out, it'd be hard to face anyone. Taoist Jinlian said, Miaojin, if you don't want to stay at an inn, you could stay at Su Qian's residence. Number 5 is there too. Su's estate is a large, elegant home in the inner city. It's quite grand. Su Qian's lips twitched. You old silver coin. Here you go again. Why is my house becoming a shelter for Heaven and Earth Society strays? Li Miaojin thought of the headless corpse. She could hand that case over to Su Qian, and at the same time, learn some useful investigative techniques from him. So Li Miaojin nodded and said, all right, I'd like to see number 5 too. He's traveled so far north. He must have endured quite a lot. Su Qian keenly noticed the frequent, scrutinizing glances from Taoist Jinlian. He had a feeling the Taoist had something more to say to him. He outwardly kept his composure, even smiling as he invited, generally, please follow me home. Taoist Jinlian watched them leave, murmuring to himself, after the Heaven and Earth contest, I'll leave the capital. But before that, I must find a way to stir up this fight. The 2 humans and 1 ghost strolled openly through the streets. The atmosphere was no longer as tense as before. Testing the waters, Su Qian called, Miaojin. The female general snorted, call me General Li. Su Qian chuckled and said, that sounds so distant. We know each other so well. By the way, I have a question about the Heaven and Earth contest. Li Miaojin turned her face away in annoyance, showing him no kindness. Su Qian awkwardly smiled, realizing she was still upset, so he changed the topic. By the way, we haven't talked about how we searched for number 5 in Xiangqing. Li Miaojin replied flatly. The Taoist kept blocking my earthbook fragments. I should have known. He was covering up news of your revival. Suien said, that's not important. The important thing is, the tomb we found felt off, ancient and, disturbing it, belonged most likely one of Renzong's Taoists. Li Miaojin's interest was piqued. Renzong? She asked curiously. Suien nodded. Yes, a Taoist from the time of Renzong's user. Suien then recounted their experience in the tomb, in vivid, almost story-like detail. Li Miaojin pondered for a moment before saying, this reminds me of something. The Buddha once said, among the three schools of heaven, earth and man, the Renzong, human sect, is the most foolish. They willingly align with the human covenant. The earth sect comes next, cultivating virtue to build blessings, but worldly cause and effect cannot be explained by doing good alone. As a result, earth sect's second-rank masters often get entangled in cause and effect, easily falling into demonic ways. Suien glanced at her. The earth sect's show is a case in point. He then asked, and what about the heavenly sect? Li Miaojin replied with pride. The heavenly sect walks the grand path. We transcend emotions, achieve unity of heaven and man. That is the heavenly Tao. Suien countered. According to that philosophy, shouldn't you be indifferent to all things? Why are you so fixated on the heaven-man rivalry? So obsessed with orthodoxy? Li Miaojin gave him a surprised look. It's rare for you to think of that, she said. Honestly, I don't know. Like you said, being so fixated on fighting does go against the heavenly sect's ideals. But the sect has its reasons. I once asked, but never got an answer. Suchien's thoughts churned. So, the heaven-man rivalry may appear to be about ideology and orthodoxy, but there's likely a deeper reason behind it. Even as the heavenly sect's saintess, she didn't know. It seemed the Taoist world ran very deep. Before long, the two people and one ghost arrived at the gates of Su's estate. Li Miaojin looked at the grand entrance and joked, not bad. Living in such a large mansion in the capital, did you embezzle a lot of silver? Suien laughed and said, yep, so, as long as you stick with me, you'll be guaranteed a life of luxury and comfort. As soon as he finished speaking, a semi-fluent voice from the central plains rang out, horse stance. No horse stance, no pastries. The little bean bun, with her cheeks puffed full, said in a milky voice, I'm tired. If I do half the horse stance, then can I just do half the horse stance today? Lena agreed without hesitation. At this moment, the little bean bun spotted Dugwa's figure. She happily leapt up from the ground, then charged forward like a bull, crashing into Dugwa's arms. At that point, Lena also noticed them, and her curious eyes examined the unfamiliar woman. Li Miaojin spoke first. Is that number 5? Suien pulled the little bean bun aside, then introduced the two of them, saying, Lena, this is number 2 of the heavenly sect, Li Miaojin. The simple-minded Lena, realizing this was someone she'd known online, grabbed her horse stance bar, and cheerfully greeted her. Oh, so you're number 2. Are you pastries? Li Miaojin thought to herself. She really doesn't seem too bright. Then said politely, the journey from southern Xinjiang to the capital must have been tough. Lena's tears immediately started flowing. She nodded repeatedly and said, so tough. I was tricked out of my silver, deceived into doing hard labor. I even worked hard for someone, just for a meal, tirelessly and without complaint. And then I was ambushed with knockout smoke by a lecherous martial artist. Luckily, I'm from the ancient tribe, so ordinary poisons have no effect on me. She then concluded, I think the easiest, most pleasant job is begging. You don't have to do anything at all. You just sit in the street with a broken bowl, and kind people will give you copper coins. Li Miaojin was dumbfounded. She'd expected Lena to endure some hardships, but not such a series of twists and turns. At this point, the little bean bun looked at Su, cautiously and curiously saying, big sister, you're so pretty. Su decided to tease the child, showing a menacing grin. I'm a ghost, she said. Surprisingly, the little bean bun wasn't scared at all. In fact, she started drooling, even swallowing a bit of saliva instinctively. At this moment, Li Miaojin turned to Suien, saying, on my way to the capital, I found a corpse. It seems he was silenced. I summoned his remnant soul for questioning, and discovered something major. Without hesitation, Suien led her into his study. Li Miaojin didn't waste any time, taking out her earthbook fragment and giving it a shake. A shadow dropped down and hit the study floor with a thud. She then said, I brought his body with me. Can you discern anything unusual? Suien stared at the headless corpse for a moment and asked, where's his soul? In his mind, he thought, a headless body alone doesn't explain much. If Li Miaojin said it's something major, she must have used Taoist techniques to summon the soul. Li Miaojin tapped her incense pouch. A wisp of green smoke spiraled out, forming a dull-eyed middle-aged man in mid-air. Could it be the Blood Disciples marching 3,000 miles? Blood Disciples marching 3,000 miles. Request the court to send troops to suppress them. The heavenly sect's saintess's face grew grim. His soul is damaged. To learn more, we'd have to nurture his soul. Based on the state of his soul's damage, it would take at least 2 months. Suien sighed. In 2 months, the trail will go cold. Li Miaojin looked helpless. Then what do you suggest? Suien thought for a moment, then bent down to remove the clothing from the corpse. After a brief inspection, he said, judging by his features, he's likely from the north. Li Miaozhen's eyes instantly lit up. She asked, based on what? She had observed number 3 shamelessly inspect the corpse the entire time, but hadn't come to the same conclusion. Suien explained, people are shaped by their environment. From their appearance and skin, you can determine where a person is from. Without a head, the ghost's face is too indistinct. So, we have to use details from the body to make the judgment. For instance, notice the calluses on his palms. His index finger also has a thick layer of callus. Neither blade nor arrow would cause such calluses. The female ghost blinked her lovely eyes. What kind of weapon did he use then? Don't keep us in suspense. Li Miaozhen suddenly looked as if she understood. It was a crossbow, wasn't it? Suien nodded. Exactly. He was a skilled crossbowman. Su tilted her head. Just based on that, how can you say he's from the north? There are plenty of crossbowmen around the lakes. Why couldn't he be from the army? Suien teased, right? Su has a point. After all, you're standing next to someone skilled with a crossbow, and he's not from